Blog Talk Radio.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? CounterRacism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by CounterRacism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's Counter-Racism.com.
Mr. Edward Williams with counter-racism.com called in. Your line is open if you want to ask questions. If you have a question for Dr. Terpstra, just one. Press 1 and I can get the line open. Mr. Williams, your line is open. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, Gus and Justice. And I'd like to say good evening to your guests.
Hello. Hi, Edward.
I did have one question, and early on in the show, I think I have to do something short in terms of preface for the non-white people that are listening. But early on in the show, you were asked by Gus and Justice about the system of racism, white supremacy, and used a lot of different words to describe what it is from your perspective, including words like classism and things like that. Gus asked you a question, if whether you thought white people collectively were more powerful than non-white people collectively. And I believe your response to that was absolutely. Is that correct? I don't want to misquote you.
Yes, it's statistically sure. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And then you immediately went into talking about white privilege. Not white power, but white privilege. Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a basic understanding of what privilege is. It's something that's given to you by somebody that's more powerful than you.
Right.
For example, someone can give you driving privileges, and if you misuse those or abuse those, the person that's more powerful than you can take those driving privileges away.
Right.
So this group of white people who are more powerful than all the non-white people on the planet, they're not only more powerful, they are more privileged. I mean, in fact, they give themselves their power through their privilege. They are powerful and privileged at the same time. In fact, it appears as though the use of the term white privilege is just another way of saying white power without actually saying it. I think that's important for non-white people to understand, because when they look at the picture of white privilege versus white power, many non-white people are confused by the use of that term. But what's really being discussed is the power that white people have and what they're able to do as a result of having that power. And so when this collective group of white people, all the white people on the planet, who are more powerful than all the non-white people on the planet, part of the privilege that they have is they mistreat people on the basis of color. They mistreat the people who they say are not white. And that is white supremacy. The mistreatment of people on the basis of color is racism. Racism, white supremacy is the same thing. So my question to you, I wanted to make sure that the non-white people had that picture in their mind before I asked the question. The question I have for you is, when white people use the term white privilege rather than use the term white power, do they do that in order to confuse non-white people? That's my question. Thank you.
I can't speak for all white people, so I can only say when I use that, I don't. I'm making a distinction just like you did that. You have to have power to confer a set of privileges, right? And like with driving, you can take them away. And that was what I was talking about in the passage that Justice mentioned about white people who are, transgressive, white traitors. Okay. That then those who are in power, the whites who are in power, they can take power and privilege away from
I've just spoken to
whites
one of them
who are not in power. So there's a distinction that I make in all sincerity, because I think it's an important one, especially when we look at working together cross-culture, cross-race, cross-ethnicity to end white supremacy and racism. I think it's an important distinction. So, no, I don't use it to confuse people.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'll pick them up as we roll, because I should see his number when it pops up. Ruby. Okay, so I'm going to open our lines up now.
Yes, sir.
Context of white supremacy. Gus T Renegade, Justice, in for another program. I must confess I'm a little fatigued, but racism, white supremacy, that's what it means. And I guess for folks who are just tuning in who don't know, a little fatigued. I think the previous broadcast we finished up maybe 13 hours ago. 13 hours ago, that was the last broadcast. So this, I think, would be broadcast number 3 in about the last 20 hours. So we have hopefully been busy and constructive. The program, again, as I say consistently, hope people are not wasting their time. If you're not getting constructive information that you can use to help you replace white supremacy with justice, do something else. Check out some books, anything else. Do not be wasting time if you're not getting useful information on this program. For today's broadcast, people, I think if you've been listening to the program for the last couple months or what have you, I've been saying consistently that I really want to make an effort to get more guests, more listeners, more participation from black people, non-white people all over the world. That was a big part of during fundraising. That was one of the things that I wanted to get my Skype line so that I could call lots of other countries and have guests on the program from people all over the world. We've been saying racism, white supremacy is global. It shouldn't just be non-white people in the States on a program that is focused on white supremacy and what should be done to correct that problem. And I felt it would be the correct thing to do, and I think it would help clear up confusion to hear non-white people from all over the planet speaking about how white people have harmed them and strategies on ways that we can combat what our opposition, white people, what they are doing to us. So real happy about the program today. We're having a collection of guests. I can say one of them specifically. He's been a long-time listener, actually investor. You talk about the global system of racism, white supremacy. When this gentleman began listening to the program outside the States, he was one of the first folks to just tune in, listen. I suppose he thought it was constructive, and he took the first time that Mr. Fuller was on the program back in May of 2009 and put a YouTube video of the clip. He made a couple videos just of that program, mailed them to me. I thought they were great. Then he made more videos. Then he hooked Korea up, made videos of her program. So he's just been really helpful. And I know for me that was really, I don't want to be so trite to say cool, but it was a really nice moment to see. I don't even know how to make YouTube videos, and to see black people that are thousands of miles away. I've never been to England. Who found, some of the content constructive, or I hope they found it constructive, to make a video to help promote the show. That was just really something. It really helped me know I was moving in the right direction and kept me motivated. So real pleasure to have him on the program, and we're looking forward to having some other black males that are associates of his calling in as well. His YouTube channel is linked in the description. You can just click his name and it will take you to his YouTube page. He has a lot of videos on racism, white supremacy, and I've included one of the other black males who should be joining us, one of his videos, because it also talks about racism, white supremacy, and the importance of black people kind of loosening their grip on holidays. So our guest that's with us right now, Mr. Skydrifter, joining us live from the UK. Mr. Skydrifter, are you with us? Skydrifter, are you with us? I'm looking at him. He looks like he's on my line. Are you there, sir? I don't know if he muted his line. Skydrifter, are you there with us? Very interesting. I will type in. I just heard him a couple seconds ago. I'm not hearing him now. Skydrifter, are you there, sir? Quite odd. Could be racist interference. I'm looking at him on my line, but I'm not hearing him. Very strange. Oh, you can unmute yourself. You can hear me. You can unmute yourself. If you're there, you can give us a hello, and we can get cracking, sir. Skydrifter, if you can hear me. Okay, I'm still not hearing you. I'm still not hearing you. Okay, looks like his line is.
Wow.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can.
Hello.
Hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
Great.
Good job. Good job. White people thought they were on their job already.
Yeah.
Again, joining us live from the UK, and he's been on the program before. Just so folks who are thinking he hasn't called in before, he has called in before. If you go back and listen to the broadcast with Dr. Nell Irvin Painter, you'll hear him on that program. If you go back and listen to the broadcast over the summer with Elliot Jaspin, he was on that program as well. So he's called in. The video's super supportive. Outstanding to have you on the show today, sir.
Thank you very much, Gus.
For sure. I believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. I
was just going to say it's a delight to actually finally have a show with you.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Hopefully there will be more to come, and other non-white people and black people in the UK and around the world. I really want to emphasize that is one of the things that I've been really happy about. It's not that way now. New York has become more popular, so they bumped London from the number one spot. But for a long time, London has been the number one city in terms of driving traffic directly to the site. It looks like one of your friends from the UK, he had just called in. I was going to get his line, and then I didn't see him anymore. So if he dials back in, I can put him on, and you can let him know. If it's a male, you can let him know. I can call him if, it's looking like it's a problem and all that. I can dial him if that would be easier.
Okay, I'm sure. Yes. He did say, the 718 number did say that he would try again. So hopefully he will get through soon enough. The other gentleman, Mr. Black Power Stick, he's also trying to call in as well. I think this is the first time that they've actually called into a blog talk show. So.
I see. Cool in the game. Well, I will keep an eye out on the switchboard, and we can start off. You can kind of share some of your views, and then I will add them as we go. I'll keep my eye on the switchboard. Yeah. I guess to get started, for folks we have a lot of new listeners, so maybe they haven't heard you on some of the earlier programs. If you could just give them a little bit of background information about yourself, that would be great, and then we can get more in-depth as we roll.
Well, I'm a non-white black male in the city of London, and the way I got started with actually focusing on counter-racism science is simply by hearing one of the videos that were on YouTube about 2.5 years ago with Mr. Fuller. And surprisingly, in conjunction with that, I heard a few videos that Mr. Williams had, Mr. Edward Williams, that he had on his page in relation to white supremacy. And I took it upon myself to really just say, okay, with the resources that I have and me being introduced to your show, Crusoe, what could I do, with what I have, in order to, spread the word, allowing other non-white people to know about the system, the global system of white supremacy. Before I actually started to make videos to promote the show, promote Crusoe, I was doing a few YouTube videos myself. I was being pretty vocal about the experiences that I had here in the UK in relation to racism and white supremacy, things that I've faced in the past, things that I faced at the time whilst I was making the videos. And I just thought it was relevant at the time for me to, focus on, what I deal with on a day-to-day basis, being that, a lot of us non-white black people, the issues or the difficulty that we face on a day-to-day basis in relation to racism, we tend to, keep a closed, kind of eye to things that go on. We notice these things, but we don't like to talk about them, and we don't like expressing ourselves, and that can be really damaging. So, I took it upon myself at the time to use the medium known as YouTube to basically speak my mind, allow people to know how I felt at the time, and I took it upon myself again to promote your show and promote Crew's show, because initially what I found is, what struck a chord to me when I heard your show, Gus, was, the counter-racist science that you were using, the tools that Mr. Fuller has laid before us, in order for us to practice. And that really took to me, as something very, very special, because I had gone through phases of, looking at different, black organizations, different, what are deemed or called, black organizations on YouTube. And, when you're, I don't like using the term consciousness, but when you're full, or when you're coming into a particular awareness about, racism, white supremacy, rarely do non-white black people ever really go for the jugular vein. And that was something that you included, and that struck many chords with me. And ever since, the inception of the show, I think one of your first shows, Eddie Moore Jr., I've been listening ever since, So, I've been, definitely, yeah. So, I've been along on this journey, and it's allowed me to grow. It's allowed me to be more focused. It's allowed me to be more vocal. It's allowed me to be more critical with my thinking. And it's something that is a part of me. It's almost as if when you open Pandora's box, when the truth about racism, white supremacy, has been brought to the attention of somebody who didn't really, have any foresight or sight, as to what they were going through. You changed a lot. Just to say that with me, individually. So I would like to, thank you for that. I know you don't like taking praise, but nevertheless, your efforts, Crew's efforts, and Mr. Williams' efforts, Mr. Fuller, Dr. Wilson, you really created a lot of weapons out there.
Hopefully there will be a lot more change to come, and hopefully non-white people, we will get a lot more weapons to deal with white folks. Someone called in from a Skype handle that I don't recognize. Do you suspect that could be one of...
if you don't mind typing that name to me.
How about we have technology? We can go offline and screen and see if it's a person. We'll do Cambone, and that'll give us 10 seconds to see who this person is, to see if we have another listener from the UK. And like I said, I really hope that this will be the first of a lot more UK listeners. If you're out there in the UK, we got one, definitely. Person who called in, you know who you are. If you call from the UK, your line is open. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Good to hear from you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah,
fantastic.
Well, so you can hear me well, right?
I can hear you crystal clear.
Good, that's good. Okay, I feel a bit rude now, like I've cut into the conversation.
No worries. You are a guest. You were welcome. We were waiting on your presence. If you could let folks who are listening, if you could let them know how you would like to be referenced for the program, and if you could give them a little bit of information about yourself, that would be great.
Okay. Some people may have heard already. I'm on YouTube. My name's Heavenly Truth 1 on YouTube. I'm friends with Skydrifter, obviously, as he explained. Friends with my other friend, Black Power Stick, who should be calling in shortly as well. And basically, with me, I mean, it started off in terms of like my awareness of like the whole white supremacy thing and, you know, the stuff that's happening to us as like black people. It started off by me just addressing like initial things going on just for myself. So like myself as a black man, the kind of things you go through, like say with women and what have you. But then it kind of advanced from there because as I moved on, I started like, I mean, I was always aware of like the racism in this country, but what I started to realize was the more you talk about it over here in the UK, the more you're made to feel guilty about it. So, for example, I'll talk about, I don't know, racial profiling, and then someone will come along and they'll justify it by saying, well, you know, if black boys didn't do this so much, then it wouldn't happen, and X, Y, Z. And these people would be completely oblivious to like how we got to this stage in the first place. And then you'll get people like making up claims about absent fathers in the black community, so on and so forth. And then as I started like to unravel it a bit more, I started to realize that it wasn't really based on anything specific that we was doing. It was more like about how society is and how we've assimilated to the culture over here and haven't created things for ourselves. So, for example, over here, for example, you could do like back in the day, you could have done a lot of manual work and what have you, but a lot of that work is going now. The kind of work that, say, you know, my father would have done or uncles, so on and so forth. A lot of those jobs are disappearing. So what you're realizing is that some of these jobs, when they're not available no more, it affects us first because a lot of us, we didn't get caught up in the whole making a business and passing it down to our children kind of thing. So then we start suffering the most, and then before you know it, we're marginalized back into that corner where we're committing crimes. And when we usually commit those crimes, it's usually against each other. And then what you then have is people just kind of reinforcing a stereotype. And a lot of people, because they haven't even got the skill set to identify what white supremacy is, they get caught up in this blaming the victim kind of thing. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's almost like they completely overlook the actual beginning of it in the first place. So now what's happening is when you start saying things like, you know, oh, well, you can't say this is racist and whatever, they'll try and equate what you're saying. So say if you're a black nationalist, they'll try and equate you being a black nationalist to being a racist. So all of a sudden they'll start comparing Khalid Muhammad to Hitler or something like that. Do you follow where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we get a lot of that over here. Now, where in America, you lot are a lot more fortunate because I think some of the things that's happened to you in the past, a lot more people are privy to what's going on. But over here, we've just completely, the majority, we've just completely forgot this. Like there's people over here that believe that we're all equal. And like, you know, I mean, I keep having this discussion with people all the time about racism. Like they'll start talking about, oh, well, black people can be racist and what have you. And I'm thinking, what kind of racism are you talking about? Because when you start talking about racism, because when I talk about it, I'm talking about, you know, how you'll shut people out of the work the work environment, or racial profiling, or you'll start putting abortion clinics in a certain area. That's the kind of racism I'm talking about. Now, if you're talking about a black person and racism, I'm thinking, okay, what, are you going to boycott them from buying your mixed CDs or something? I mean, I don't mean to be stereotypical, but it's like the kind of things that we own as a collective, it's not nearly enough in comparison to, like, you know, the majority of white society. So when they talk about exercising racism from the black perspective, I'm like, what planet are you living on? But again, I've had this discussion with too many people in Britain, and they just don't get it. You say this to them, and they will fight you down, and they'll fight you down more than white folk. They'll actually sit here and debate with you and tell you, no, black people can be racist. And in the meantime, these people, they don't actually realize that what they're doing, they're suppressing their own consciousness towards the people that are actually trying to, like, you know, take over us. So, you know, the people that actually, generally speaking, deep down, never really liked you in the first place, you're worrying about being fair to your enemy. And I mean, the analogy I use for those people is, if you're having a race, do you worry about everyone else in the race passing the finish line, or do you worry about yourself? I mean, that's where I'm coming from anyway. Sorry, I sound like I'm going on, don't I?
Wow. I hope people listening in heard all that. The only thing I would say is, if you think that black people in the States are less confused about racism, white supremacy, you should come for a visit. I'll just leave it at that. You should come for a visit.
Yes, I'm aware.
One of the other gentlemen that I think you all were looking for, I think, has dialed in. One of the other folks who called in from the UK. Your line is open. Are you with us? Okay, bro. I can hear you, but there's a little bit of distortion on your line. The person that called in from the UK just now, I'm not sure. You might want to try hanging up and calling back in again to see if it clears your line up. I don't know where the distortion is coming from, but it's at least for me, it's difficult to understand what you're saying. I'll try again.
It's a little better.
Oh, okay. He's going to dial back in. Hopefully he'll call right back. I want to tell our listeners, guys, both of you are black males, the two of you that are on the line.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Afro-Caribbean.
I wanted to...
well, the reason sorry to cut you. The reason I say that, because that's another bit of confusion. We get some people getting concerned about, us referring to ourselves as black. And then we get people that have a problem with not acknowledging, the African part of us. I mean, obviously, that's where we're from. But, one of the problems I have, and I feel this is also another thing that gets in the way of dealing with white supremacy. When you start, I think my friend Sky just refers to it as tribalism. It's like when I'm from the Afro-Caribbean. My parents are from Jamaica. I mean, I was born here. I was born in London, Greenwich Hospital to be precise. But usually when I speak, someone will acknowledge, well, you're from Africa. And I'm like, well, fine. But do you know that in the UK, the biggest set of people in the black community that reject my claims to be African are actually Africans themselves? And I'm talking about people that actually, they've got more of a deeper connection from there, like their parents are from Nigeria or something. They'll turn around and they'll say to me, oh, you Jamaicans, you Afro-Caribbean people. They're like very separatist. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, right, so now we're getting into the tribalism thing. So now because you're from Africa and I'm from Jamaica, all of a sudden now you want to kind of label me. So now we're not together in this now? Is that what it is? And then if I say I'm black to include everyone, then someone says, oh, well, you should say you're African. But so this is a catch-22 that you get caught in when you're from the Caribbean. And then the result of that is a lot of people from the Caribbean, they just end up saying, well, to hell with this, I don't care, I'm just black British, and that's the end of it. Because they're being rejected by so many people. And then that's when it leads into the whole gang lifestyle, because that's the one thing that they can claim without being rejected. Because if I'm from this area, I'm from that area. I mean, if I live in Brixton, you're not going to tell me I'm not from Brixton, because that's where I was born and raised. But, if I turn around and say I'm Jamaican, but then someone says, oh, you're not Jamaican because you wasn't born there, and then someone from Africa says, oh, well, you're not African because you're from Jamaica. But then when I speak to non-black people, they say, oh, well, you're British, if I score goals or win medals for them. So it's like that identity crisis as well, and that gets in the way of dealing with white supremacy in itself, because then when you're in a situation like that, the case usually ends up being where some of your friends might end up being non-black people, more specifically white people, and that's the only place where you can get some form of peace. But in the meantime, obviously, we're still being attacked. And I just feel that there's a lot of individualism, there's a lot of tribalism, as my friend refers to, and I think it all comes down to the fact that over here, when it comes to the whole pro-black notion, everyone wants to be the leader. No one doesn't want to be a martyr. No one doesn't want to network with everyone else and be for the good of everyone else. They kind of just want to have their own little thing and be like, well, I'm this, I'm that. They treat consciousness like it's the rap game. Everyone wants to be on top. That's when they're bothered. That's if they are bothered at all over in the UK. But that's what I find. That's what I find has happened to me in the past. But sir, I just thought I had to put that bit in.
Again, context of white supremacy. What I would like to do is go over the definition, make sure everybody, or just see if everyone thinks we're in a system of white supremacy, and then to get more background information so folks can kind of hear, growing up in the UK, how you first, became aware that, oh, wait a minute, there's going to be a problem because I'm black. And then some more of the experience in terms of what white people are doing in the UK. But with the definition, My definition for racism, white supremacy, is a global system of people who classify themselves as white and are dedicated to abusing and or subjugating everyone in the known universe whom they classify as not white. Do you both believe that such a system exists, and do you think that that definition is accurate?
No,
I believe that.
Never, ever. No, of course. Yes. 2 thumbs up. Yes.
Wow.
I believe it,
Okay.
and I actually get depressed by the people that don't believe it. Because when I started having an attitude where if people can't understand this, I started losing a lot of friends. And I don't mean losing friends like, oh, I'm not talking to you. It just got to the stage where I just can't communicate with you no more, bro, because you just don't get it, you know? And that's what's happened with me, like, over the last, say, year or 2. Because there's just so many people that just do not understand it, like as you explained, because they're thinking the whole... They don't actually believe in the race thing. They just believe we're all equal. We're all God's children, so to speak. Forgetting the fact that if, you know, we're all God's children, the God they put in their head is probably white anyway, but I digress.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the typical answer that you get from, like, a non-white male over here who's like, highly confused is, oh, you know, we're all human, and, you know, we're all spirits, and, you know, there's no such thing as racism. Racism is a thing of the past. You know, you need to change your surroundings. You need to change, you know, who you hang around with. You know, and you're looking at them as a victim. You know, who's highly confused, and you're just saying, you know, why like yourself? You know, I mean, this is just, it's a global phenomenon. You know, it's a global phenomenon. But, you know.
In terms of the global thing, no, sorry, carry on. Sorry, I was cutting in.
Oh, I think one of your other members, he dialed in again. I want to check his line to see if it's clear now, so we can add one more to the mix. Other gentleman that called in from the UK, your line is open.
Yeah, yo, it's Black Power Stick. What's good? Are you with me?
Much better.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, what's happening, man? I'm just I just called in on a little touch with my boy Hard Talk was going on with the white supremacy issue. So, you know, where was you jumping on from that? Hello?
If you could, yes, sir, we can hear you. If you could, you are Power Stick, is that accurate?
Yeah, Black Power Stick, yeah.
Black Power Stick, okay. If you could, we were just doing introductions, so if you could kind of give our listeners just a little bit of information about who you are and just kind of a brief snippet of your experience with racism, white supremacy in the UK, that would be great.
Okay, all right. My name is Black Power Stick. I'm calling in from the UK with descendants from Jamaica. In terms of, you know, obviously I'm a YouTuber. I make YouTube videos, and since the early 2010, and I've kind of taken a redirection on my videos in terms of economics and, you know, kind of believing in a blueprint for social, political, and economic survival. And in terms of my experience with racism and white supremacy, because I'm now coming from the whole construction background, like I've seen the elements of racism and white supremacy, because obviously when you look at how racism and white supremacy is implemented, it's used through different entities. And now, I mean, as we've been labor class for such a long time, and they're now cutting us off in terms of the labor jobs. Even when you look at the whole employment issue, I believe now the white supremacy element is really attacking black people on the economical unemployment. And what's funny is for a long time, even a lot of black women were protected by the same white supremacist system. That's why you got a lot of black women working for Haringey Council, Newham Council, Greenwich Council. But what a lot of them don't realize is when Nick Clegg and David Cameron talk about government cutbacks, that job is a public sector job. And it's their jobs that Nick Clegg and David Cameron are talking about. So again, and now with the white supremacist system, can you hear me, brother? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
now with that same white supremacist system, what's happened in the white supremacist system? The reason why we see that there's so much victims, it don't work. The reason why there's so much victims of the white supremacy is because we've put ourselves in a position where we've got so comfortable with white supremacy feeding us. We now so many of us don't know how to get out of the condition of providing for self and doing for self. And in the moment you do get a black person that has a blueprint for trying to do for self, he's looked at as crazy amongst other black people.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of my main stances. I believe that even when it comes to understanding the white supremacy, the reason why you got so much victims, once you can't understand the people, you're always going to be a victim to their to their misleading and their miseducating, because you don't understand what you're dealing with. And when it comes to the whole white supremacy issue, I think I've really dealt with it a lot on a social front with certain social circles I've been around.
Yeah.
And then before dealing... Go on, sorry, bro.
No, Kevin, I was just listening.
And all that. Before even when we look at the whole white supremacy and racist issue, one of the problems is obviously is when you socialize with so much of your own on that issue, it's how clueless so many of them are. And then the thing is, like, some of them will try and say, oh, yeah, see, look what happened there, that's some racist shit. And when you explain a whole racist element to them, they just look at you like you're crazy.
I concur.
So I think
do
when
that.
it comes... Go on, what were you saying about that again?
Oh, go ahead.
Hello?
I'm sorry.
No, I was
sir,
to you. I didn't mean to cut you, brother.
I was just saying they do the exact same thing here too, in terms of people getting upset when you try to talk about racism. Other black people, they do the exact same thing.
What state you in, brother?
In the States, the United States.
Yeah, what state?
Washington State, Seattle specifically.
Okay. No, I'm always in New York, innit? Like, Brooklyn's my second home, like East New York.
Okay.
So even with the whole white supremacist system over there, like I think the way, like what I find is when I'm say like in America, like in New York especially, like obviously with my family coming from Jamaica, so all my family in New York are Jamaicans, I find that a lot of Americans themselves don't understand it, that how the white supremacy is implemented within the system. I mean, right, one of the parts where white supremacy has been implemented so much, especially in the UK, coming from the construction industry, is many of the construction site jobs, you had a lot of black people doing them, but now they're now bringing in the Eastern Europeans. And then another way the racial element's been implemented is David Cameron said he's not allowing immigration from non-EU countries. So when you say non-EU countries, that's European Union countries. And when you do the history of the countries that the UK colonized, none of them are in the EU. Unless it's Northern Ireland. That's the only white colonialism.
Sure.
This is almost identical to what Claude Anderson spoke about with the tricks that white supremacy plays with immigrants, because it's like that whole if they come in, you're going to get knocked from number 2 all the way to number 4, and this just touches again back on the jobs that was around once upon a time and are not available no more, because obviously they pass it on to immigrants and what have you that's prepared to do the work, and they're prepared to do it at a lesser wage. And because, Black Power Stick said, because so many of us become so reliant on the system and the money that we can get if we just, claim some form of benefit here and there, and it subsidizes our spending habits, it instantly takes away the incentive of doing those kind of jobs anyway. So you get some people that complain that immigrants are taking jobs away, but at the same time, a lot of the people saying that they wouldn't do those jobs because of how spoiled they've become from the money that they're taking from government, if that makes any sense.
I wanted to ask, let me check to see if Justice, if she's with us, and she has some questions for you all. Justice, are you there? Do you have any questions for our guests from the UK?
Hello to everybody on the call. My questions are for all of you.
Justice.
Hello.
How you doing, Justice?
Doing great. Just a reminder, I am 11 years old. Can you all speak at a low vocabulary level?
Yeah, that'll be no problem, Justice. Any question you have for us, I'll be happy to explain it to you so you can understand.
Thank you.
11.
No problem.
Do any of you believe black nationalism is the solution to racism, white supremacy? If so, what is black nationalism, and how is it the solution?
Justice, you hear me now?
Okay.
What did you say?
No, you with me now? Can you hear me now, Justice?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
In terms of when people talk about black nationalism, the origin of that comes from the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And the reason why he spoke on black nationalism was because he believed in, us having a land of our own that we can claim, which is ours. Marcus Garvey believed in having what was yours. And now in terms of black nationalism being a solution, I've never come out and said I'm a black nationalist, but I've always believed in the blueprint which black nationalists gave us. My focus has always been economics, but the economics was implemented in the black nationalist system from the UNIA, which is the United Negro Improvement Association. And with the UNIA, Marcus Garvey had factories set up. He also offered shares in his company, the Black Starlight. So somewhat, I do believe in black nationalism in terms of, the whole idea of race first, because Marcus Garvey made it clear that you don't discriminate against other members due to one being a lighter shade than the other. And then he also believed in, us having our own economic structure and us knowing who we were first. So it was, race first and knowledge of self first. So when it comes to black nationalism, the ideas from black nationalism need to be implemented, but I've never used the name black nationalism. Justice, does that answer your question? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Did that answer your question, or do you need any more elaboration on that?
I've actually got some to add to that.
Yeah, go on, Hartul. Go on.
Part of the question was also, do we see it as a solution to white supremacy and racism? And the answer to that from me is yes, I do see it as one of the solutions. And the reason I say that is because when you actually look at what's happening even in white society to themselves, they can't even provide jobs for themselves. Over here, we've got a situation with the universities where the university fees are increasing. So, and before that, there was a lot of people coming out of university and they was unable to get jobs for themselves. Now, the way I see it, you've got certain universities like Oxford and Cambridge, and they only take a certain amount of non-white students, i.e. black students like myself or what have you. So when I think of it like that, we're instantly being shut out all the time anyway. So for us to be like nationalists, it's in our best interest for our children and so on and so forth, because even when you look at even something as basic as working in a supermarket, you'll have like a cashier job, for example. Those jobs are disappearing as well, because now what they're doing, they're getting electronic checkouts to do the work for you. So whereas before you might have had like maybe 10 checkout staff, they'll have maybe one person just manning maybe 8 different machines that can serve people. On top of that, you've got like stuff like working in a mechanic's garage. A lot of the parts that they use now, they're being made specifically by the manufacturers, so the average person on the street can't just repair your car no more. I mean, God help you if you've got a brand new Audi. I wouldn't even dare go underneath the bonnet. And they're doing it that way so that it only caters for the companies that they make. And the last time I checked, I mean, I can't think of any major car manufacturing companies that black people own and control. So in terms of is black nationalism a solution? I definitely agree that it is. And I think it's essential that as many of us get on board that idea as possible, because what people don't realize is that if we don't have that attitude, as Claude Anderson said, we're going to be a permanent underclass. There is no two ways about it, because jobs are shrinking even now. I know people with degrees in all manner of fields, and they cannot find work, and they're having to revert back to the normal kind of work they would be doing before they even graduated, and it's going to get worse because even those jobs are disappearing. So in terms of, do I think it's a solution? Yes, I do, and, that's why.
Hello? Can I be heard? Can I be heard?
Yeah, I hear you.
Can I be heard?
Say that again?
Okay, great.
A bit slower.
In relation to... Can I be heard, yeah?
Hello?
Okay, that's great. In relation to black nationalism, the whole ideology of that and template of Marcus Garvey should have been implemented a long time ago. I think today, now in 2011, the state that we are in as a black collective, is a collective of individuals who are victims. I would only have to agree with what Hardtalk just mentioned in relation to, all of us, having some non-white people are skilled. We have skills. We have people that are skilled in different, even the people that don't believe that they have a particular skill have some kind of skill that they can present and bring forward. I think that if we all came to the table and if we were all on the same page in relation to, furthering ourselves economically, I believe that we could bring those skills forward, or we can bring those skills out of the people, or the very people that don't happen to be utilizing the skills to their best potential. And we can make the best of it. We can make the most of it. Like, everybody has somebody, or may know somebody, back home. When I say back home, I mean maybe Africa, Jamaica, the US, UK, that deals in some field of, let me say, it might be agriculture, it might be, any other forms of trade that we can deal in 2011. The only issue with that is that we're still using the exchange in the very currency of the people that are oppressing us. That's the problem that I have with the economic side of things. But in regards to us coming together, utilizing our skills and making the most of it, I believe that, that's something that we should be doing anyway.
Is that all?
But
do you have any more questions you'd like to ask Justice?
Yes.
Go on, speak, Karen.
When did you all start learning and understanding racism, white supremacy?
For me, being Black Power Stick, I was always aware of it because a lot of situations I came around, which especially from my mum, and my mum made me somewhat aware gradually, but then by the time I hit 19 and I started traveling more to places like New York, and then I went to Jamaica, then I went to, even when I started speaking to certain people who were from places like India, and when they were explaining how certain things, how the racism was over there, and even sometimes I got into a lot of fights with all skinheads and stuff like that, so I was aware of who I was dealing with for a very long time due to the situations I got into. So that's what made me aware.
What made me aware? Well, there was a time I was really young at the time, but my uncle was being troubled a lot by the police, you know, like constantly. He would come and visit us like he would, and he would always have some kind of trouble, like, you know, he was being followed by the police a lot. And there was one time, like, he just got his ass kicked because, you know, like he was being followed. Now, to this day, I don't know the full details of it. He doesn't really like talking about it. Now, this isn't really like an uncle that was like, you know, bad or anything. You know, he's a family man now and what have you. That was the first thing that kind of opened my eyes to it. I mean, my parents did tell me briefly, but they didn't really go too much into it. But I think when I was in secondary school, the death of Stephen Lawrence, that pretty much just blew it wide open for me. I mean, you know, he's a guy that was killed when he was 18 years old by a group of white youths in Eltham. And even now to this day, you know, that case, you know, people are still discussing it, talking about if the people are guilty and what have you. And just the way that general public talk about that murder, I mean, it's on the same level as, like, you know, how you lot talk about Sean Bell and Oscar Grant. You know, that happened over here a good while ago. And then there was other incidents like the New Cross fire, the Brixton riots, what have you. And those are the things that kind of just illuminated the issue to me. And then after that, I just started doing my own research, started reading up on this, that, asking some of the older people in my family. And, you know, that prompted me to kind of learn a bit more about my history and such. And then after that, I just kind of got it in my head that, you know, at the end of the day, I really do need to think about my own people because, you know, I mean, my son now, he's black, obviously. You know, he's 11 now. And I'm just thinking to myself, if I never took that conscious decision to put, like, you know, think about these things, you know, what kind of world would he be coming into? So in regards to me, you could say round about when I was 13/14, that's when I was properly aware of it. To put things in its proper context, I would start seeing things on television and I would start thinking, okay, that's racist, you know, and the fact that, you know, there's only a token black character and he's always killed, or the fact that when I was doing history, they would tell me about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, but they wouldn't tell me about Elijah Muhammad, or they would tell me about history, but they wouldn't tell me about the Haitian Revolution, which makes them look extremely bad because obviously what happened in the Haitian Revolution makes, you know, white society look bad, but they don't want that part to be known because I can just imagine now what a classroom full of black kids would be thinking if they knew about the details of that, because that would kind of cause some, not an uproar, but a lot of awareness that, you know, we weren't just slaves, you know, there were people that rejected racism, there were people, you know, there was life before slavery, but again, these are things that they never shown us. And when I started doing my own research outside of school, that's when I started realizing, and that's when I came to my conclusion, you know, about the racism.
For me,
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, go on, I hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
At the age of 10, I moved from an area known in the UK as Brixton to another area known in the UK as South East London Woolwich. At the time, I moved into, I could say that I came from an area that had a high crime rate to an area that was very suburban and, you know, very calm with a lot of white folk and, you know. And the first time that I experienced racism was actually at the age of 10. It was at a school that I joined, and you know, the teacher that I had, I was the only, you know, black man in the class, and the teacher, you know, that I had was very, you know, very spiteful towards me in terms of, you know, the mistreatment I would get. You know, I put my hand up in class, you know, I totally be ignored. You know, they always sit me in the corner. You know, whenever it came to sports, you know, I was always, you know, no one really paid any interest to me. You know, I came from a place where I had a lot of, you know, non-white friends. A place where, you know, I had no friends. You know, so, you know, for me, it was a moment where this teacher grabbed me by the neck, you know, and he actually told me that I would never amount to anything. Funnily enough, my younger sister, who's 5 years my junior, she had the same teacher that I had, and he told her the same thing. You're just going to be like your brother. You're never going to amount to anything. And I mean, the area changed since then. But you know, I've faced racism justice from fairly young age, you know. I shouldn't really use the word fairly, from a young age. My apologies.
The Sky Drifter.
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. And
Hello?
even to what you're saying, brother, yeah? Hello, Sky? Yeah, I can even add to it.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can even add to all of that. One of my first introductions to racism, yeah, was when I think I was about 11 or so. I first heard the phrase coconut.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when I first heard the phrase that somebody's a coconut. And for the young lady justice, what we call someone as a coconut in the UK is somebody that's black on the outside and white on the inside. So due to the fact that I started hearing about that phrase, that person's a coconut, and then that was another introduction because, you know, when I started hearing that about people being cool, and I saw a TV show after the Stephen Lawrence murder, there was a whole campaign about getting more blacks into the police force, and then there was a black police officer saying that if you join the police force, they call you phrases like bounty or coconut, and the bounty is a chocolate with coconut inside of it. So that was another introduction, which I got in regards to understanding it, because nobody in my family really had those kind of thoughts in their head like a coconut would.
Yeah, and we have a lot of those. Lord knows we have a lot.
And then remember at that time. Hello.
Power.
Yeah, we can keep going.
Power. It's funny that you actually mentioned that because the secondary school that I went to was less than 3 miles away from where Stephen Lawrence was murdered.
Oh yeah.
One of the individuals, less than 3 miles away. I would say the name of this place, but you know, one of the individuals actually attended the school a long time before I attended the school, but it's actually 3 miles away from there. And then 2 miles away from where I live was the BNP headquarters in Welling.
Yeah, I remember.
Wow.
And for those that don't know, in the US, the BNP is the British National Party, more or less the white supremacist group, you know, outright white supremacist group in the UK.
Wow. I think another point I need to make as well to the people in the US, another way that they play games with us in the UK in regards to white supremacy, what they try and do, they do this in the States as well, but they try and create this one group of, you know, white individuals who are supposed to be our friend. So what they did, they played a game of ping pong ball between David Cameron and Nick Griffin. What's it, the guy from the BNP? I forgot his name.
Oh, Nick Griffin. Yeah, that's Nick Griffin.
One that everyone. Yeah, Nick Griffin. And what a lot of black people were doing, they were focusing a lot of anger towards him because he was blatantly racist. I mean, he's BNP, for crying out loud, you know. So obviously, who's not going to address that? But what I pointed out to my dad once upon a time is like everyone's up in arms about Nick Griffin. In the meantime, David Cameron's gentrifying your ass, and it's a little game that they play. They create. It's like they create two villains, but one's not as bad as the other. So then you start thinking, well, because one's not as bad, let's go for him. And I'm like, no, it's the same agenda, but they're using one as a martyr, so they keep you occupied. And in the meantime, I mean, we've got black people over here that voted conservative. We've got black conservatives over here. Yes,
it's funny you say that. Sorry to cut you. It's funny you say that. I had a discussion with my mum. I had a discussion with my mother a few weeks back, and she said when she first came here to this country from Sierra Leone, the party that got her through was the Conservative Party. This is the very party that's in existence now. And a lot of the policies that they've implemented in relation to immigration does not favor non-white black people at all. In fact, what you were speaking about Heavenly and Power, what you were speaking about earlier about the anybody from that's not from the European Union, you should not be allowed to come in. They're the ones that are actually implementing that, and they were the very people, who back in the late 70s who actually allowed my mother to come in the country.
Yeah, but then Skydrifter, there's another funny joke to what you're saying. Yeah, you see the Conservatives, yeah. Hello, brother.
Yeah.
When the Brixton riots was on, yeah, Conservatives were in power then. So when you look at the history, of the countries, yeah, anytime there's a riot, it's always when Conservatives of that country are in power.
Reese, do you want to allow our brothers and sisters in the US to know what the Brixton riots was about?
What the Brixton riots was about was you had a generation, which was most of our dad's generation, which were the first generation of blacks born in the UK. And because obviously you had the Windrush generation coming in the 50s and 60s, but what happened, they came into work. But with our mum and dad's generation being the first generation born in the UK, they didn't really know what to do with them. So, okay, they used our grandparents for all labour jobs like cleaning, London Underground. They used them for nursing. But now, as you now have a whole generation which is born in the UK, there was nothing really out there at the rate there was for our grandparents. So, and then you had a lot of people, before they was even able to lose their jobs, they were not even getting any jobs. And as Brixton was always considered a nucleus for black people within population within the UK, the riots actually got going in Brixton, and then the main people who were partakers in the riots became poor whites within South London area and blacks. And then after that time, you had the riots at Broadwater Farm Estate with who killed P.C. Blakelock, with the whole when they put Winston Silcott on trial, and Winston Silcott served some time in prison for that. But what caused the Brixton riots was the conservative policies which kept black people out of work.
Yep. It sounds like a lot of information we've relayed. I mean, have we answered all the questions? I'm wondering, is there anything else?
Justice?
Yeah.
Throw more to the host.
What are some?
Now the host.
What are
Justice, you're still there.
What are some ways the system of racism, white supremacy, harm non-white people directly and indirectly?
How does it harm them?
Sorry.
Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question.
It harms us. It harms us in all areas of people activity. In all areas of people's activity. Everything we do, from the clothes we wear, from the food we eat, from the newspapers we read, from the hair texturizers, the hair conditioners, from the trainers, the shoes we wear on our feet, in every aspect of our lives.
How much money it costs to get a flight to go to Jamaica?
Yeah, all of that. Well, of course, the whole template of white supremacy is there. I mean, even when you look at it, when you look at the new Philip compensatory code, he highlighted 9 areas of racism and white supremacy which are used to always attack us. So when you look at the 9 areas of racism and white supremacy which is used against us, no matter what department you go into, we're all affected one way or another by one of those 9 entities. And then the only way, you see, with white supremacy, the only way white people are affected in white supremacy is if there's a system which is in place which they can no longer use us within that particular entity. So, I mean, if you look at one of the first entities used against us, economics is an entity which is used within white supremacy. So if we as black people gain economic power, that harms white people because we are no longer suppressed within that entity. You know, entertainment is another entity used within white supremacy, but then again, if we was in control of our image within the entertainment industry, you kind of defeat that element and object. And now when you look at, say, education, which is the third one, the way you would harm white supremacy is by coming to personal dominance and personal wealth with knowledge. So then, again, the educational system could no longer be used as an entity to hold you back because it's very well documented that the educational system is racially biased. And now law is used as another form of white supremacy against us. And the way we become victims to the law is because many of us are in a position where we don't understand the law we're in. And many black people who are put in positions where they're able to understand law, many of them are coconuts who don't have our best interest at heart. And the way that can harm white supremacy is by the fact that if we came to a position where we were into entities such as law, we then crush that system, and then we're also able to rig out the coconuts who are working against us in comparison to building with the brothers who are working with us. And then even now when you look at politics is the sixth entity which is used within white supremacy because there's political policies which are used to hold us back and which covertly tell you one race or another is going to be affected automatically by saying no immigration to the UK unless you're from an EU country. That is a form of saying, you know what, if you're not within the EU, because we know many black people don't come from Eastern Europe. We know there's so much EU countries which black people don't have any descendants in. So that's how one entity within politics is used to suppress us within white supremacy. And even the seventh element to white supremacy, which is religion. We know what religion does. In the UK, it's been well documented, I mean, by a lecturer we have called Sandra Hurst. She put it out there that within the black communities, one of the most profitable businesses in the black community in the UK is the black church, and it's well documented that black people are in the lower echelon within the economics of the country in the UK. So that's religion, and then now you have sex and war. I mean, even though we've got a young 11-year-old, which we're speaking to also, the way you've got so much going on out there right now where they're giving young girls your age birth control and trying to tell them, talking about going to places like, as you call it, Planned Parenthood. So they're trying to even push harder for young girls your age to get into that. And wars is the ninth element used in white supremacy because now the system is being set where black people can't get so much privileges and benefits from the system unless they join the army. And now we can see what's going on in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. So now, and even now, there's a plan going on with systems like AFRICOM. So again, when you look at the 9 areas of white supremacy, all 9 entities are used somehow to affect us. But if we understand what we are doing as a people and as a collective, we can also harm that very same system which is set out to keep us as a suppressed people. Is what I say kind of break things down. Hello, sir, brother? I can't hear you. Hello, 1 second. What are you saying? Hello?
You don't sound too clear, Skydrift.
Yeah, your line is breaking up. Skydrift, your line is breaking up.
Just a bit of a delay and a bad connection, but yeah, go on. Well, I can hear you guys anyway, so.
Yeah, so did what I break down, did it sound okay? Did it sound clear enough?
Sounded fine.
Oh.
Okay. I was going to say to Gus T Renegade, sorry to cut you guys. To Gus T Renegade, do you now see like the confusion that we've got over here, like in the UK? Like, do you actually see it now? I mean, does it sound similar to what's going on in the States, or do you notice a few differences?
It sounds Eerily similar. And when I say eerily similar, I just mean it really, and I hope for people who are listening in, I want to get more of this because I think this will really help fast forward things. If I had heard at 12 or 13, when people in California, in the States, and really across the country, so-called country, were rioting about Rodney King or whatever, Watts, if I had been 12 in any of these situations, Sean Bell, Oscar Grant, any of these, Katherine Johnson that we talked about last night, 92-year-old black female, is shot and killed in her own home by enforcement officials, police officers, and then they plant marijuana on her. If I heard about that at 12 and then heard a black person who is 10,000 miles away complaining about what happened with Stephen Lawrence, I would have connected the dots a lot sooner about what is happening on the planet and the power that white people have worldwide. I would have got things clear much quicker, and I mean, it would have so much speeded up the process. So I hope that's what's happening. Yeah. And in that spirit, I just wanted to say one quick thing. I do not believe in coincidence. I got this email during this program. So as we have been talking, I got this email on February 12th. That is a week from this coming Saturday. Stephen Lawrence's mother, Doreen Lawrence, she will be a guest on the program. We'll be talking about her new book. That'll be good. The Stephen Lawrence Center. And I was just telling folks who didn't know about Stephen Lawrence, I was like, this is like Rodney King. What happened with Rodney King over here, Stephen Lawrence is like the UK version of Rodney or Oscar Grant.
Hey, Gus, we had another one in 2008. Hey, Gus.
Yes, sir.
Go on past it.
Yeah, we had one in 2008. I don't know if any Hard Talk or Sky just to remember. In 2008, in Brixton Police Station, you had Sean Rigg. And what happened with Sean Rigg was they arrested him, and 2 hours later, he was found dead in the police cell.
Oh, yeah, that was in The Voice.
Yeah, so...
None of the officers, nothing happened to any of the officers, right?
Nah. There was just a one-day march in Brixton, and then, there was just a one-day march in Brixton, and then nothing happened. It just got silenced. And I only saw that march on YouTube.
Well, I mean, it's still happening. I mean, it goes back to the whole strategic planning of, trying to get away with stuff, because, I mean, when they even tried to, do that little framing job of the Nation of Islam here in Hinton Road, they tried to make it sound like they were connected to some kind of drug trafficking. They're constantly trying to discredit any kind of black movement, and I think that's another reason why so much people aren't aware of things, because we're guilted out of trying to know about it. I mean, we've just mentioned Stephen Lawrence. I'm prepared to wager that probably my son is probably the only person in his classroom that knows who Stephen Lawrence is. And the only reason he knows who Stephen Lawrence is because I've told him. No one else has, and I do mean no one. So, again, people tell me that I'm radical. They tell me I'm radical. They do. And, I purposely try and get out of the whole hate white people thing not because, I'm trying to sound friendly towards others, but more I'm trying to focus on actually getting things done and the actual solution. And I just don't think there's a solution in actually just going out of my way talking about the ills of white people. I'd rather address white supremacy, and I think that's another thing. A lot of people get confused between how to deal with the two, and I really do think those are two different things. You've got the average white person on the street, and then you've got white supremacy. I couldn't really give a damn about some girl called Sharon that lives in Essex that has blonde hair. I'm not bothered about her, but I am bothered about policies being drafted up in Parliament that go against my people. That's white supremacy to me, and that's what people should be focusing on. But again, when you start focusing on that kind of stuff, people start calling you a conspiracy theorist. They start saying that you're mad. There's other black people that will be like, oh, why do you care about that? We're all equal now. And, there's a lot of people that are dead, brain dead. You say Amos Wilson to them, they're like, who's that? They don't know, but they know who Waka Flocka Flame is. You see what I'm saying? They just don't know. So it's a lot of us are preoccupied. Sorry, go on, Skydrifter.
I don't know
Yeah.
or even power, or maybe even you, Gus. You may have heard about what happened to a lady by the name of Sarah Mulenga.
Now, what happened to her?
No, I don't think it.
Sarah Mulenga. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. This is a non-white black woman who had or was suffering from sickle cell. She was in pain. At around 4:15 afternoon, she was in severe pain. They called the paramedics to come around. 2 paramedics came into the room, saw her on the bed.
Yeah.
You go.
You're breaking up a little, bro.
Skydrifter, you're breaking up. Still not hearing you. Last thing we heard was they saw her on the bed. That was the last thing we heard.
Yeah, I don't think I even heard that story. Like, you know, the thing is, Gus, a lot of these stories, it's only, I look on it like this. It's like a portfolio of atrocities. And it's like, until you actually get them all together, like what we're doing now, that's when you realize how severe it is. But what they've done, they've skillfully done it in a way that, you know, because a lot of these things don't make it to the papers, you see. Some of them might make it to local papers, but they won't put it on, like, you know, the major headlines. You know, they'll talk about celebrity gossip. I mean, they do that in America too. They do that with the press all over the world. But, you know, and another problem we've got as well, I don't know of any paper that we actually own. I mean, we've got the Voice newspaper here, but, I mean, that's not owned by us. That's owned by Jews. Yeah, that's owned by Jewish people. So a lot of us, you know, we haven't got our own interests at heart. You know, we're waiting for someone else to spoon feed not only just our history, but our issues, you know, to us. Yeah. We want someone else to deal with our things because we've been trained to believe that that's how we're supposed to do it, which goes back to what I was saying about the whole benefit system. We've become used to other people doing things that we just benefit from, even though they're not made for us in the first place. You know, so
and hard to.
Yeah, go on.
Hard to. Yeah, like it's funny we say that. Yeah, you know, like about who we rely on the information from. I was listening to one of them Nawabians on YouTube a couple of days ago, and someone questioned him about that Dr. Malachi Ziyuk being in jail for pedophilia. And one thing he said, which was true, was the reason why so much people were confused at the time is because the death of Khalid Muhammad sidetracked everyone. You know, there was another situation. There was a lot of situations going on at that time. So where everyone was sidetracked to one way of thinking and sidetracked to the whole situation with Khalid, everyone, and then they were sidetracked to the whole situation with Louis Farrakhan. So when they were sidetracked by that incident, everyone was overwhelmed by how all of a sudden Khalid Muhammad, you know, Dr. York is a pedophile now. So no one really researched that case, and I heard people saying, he's a pedophile, but no one actually broke down and listened to the content which the case was laid out at. So again, it comes down to, you know, we hear stories, but then if we don't go out and do the primary research ourselves, we become victims to misinformation, which we are all the time.
Yep.
So I think that's another thing that happens as well, because you see, like, the only time we do get certain information when there's an aspect of trying to bring us down in that information, and or make us discredit each other.
I just wanted to ask a quick question. Are these white supremacists, are they creating conflict between black males and black females over there? Because I know you.
That's very skillful.
Real quick,
can I say something, please?
If you could throw in, if this is resulting in an increased number of sexual relationships between black people and white people. That's all.
Vanessa Phelps. Yeah. Can I be heard?
Yeah. Yeah, you can be heard, bro.
Great.
We can hear you.
Great. Vanessa Phelps.
The Jewish woman, yeah? Vanessa Phelps, yeah?
Jewish woman, Vanessa Phelps. She's got a show. I sent a link to Gus. She's got a show. called The Vanessa Show. You know, it's on Channel 5, and they show it in the morning, right? So she's got a non-white. Yeah, it's like after the right stuff, right? She's got like a non-white male called Ben, right? Who she's married to, right? But Ben's like a lapdog. You know, anything she tells Ben to do, Ben will do. You know, he's got like a lot of little slaps on, like, yeah. You know, he's got too much lip gloss. Yeah. But when you clock it now, a year before, I think it was like last year, right? Before she had her show, there's a clip on YouTube, Vanessa speaking to a non-white male, and he is talking about how much he hates black women.
We've all heard that.
No, that was 2008. That was 2008. I remember that.
Was that 2008?
I remember, yeah? I made a video about that.
That struck chords for me because here you are with a nation that's with non-white male, and you know she's on a show like what 2-3 years prior to this show that she has now, listening to a guy that's going on about how much he hates black women.
Yeah. Sorry, Gus, I've got to say, there is an issue with black men and black women over here, and it's a direct result of white supremacy, and I won't even deny that I'm guilty of participating in part of that. However, I do, when I told you how I first got on when I was making videos on YouTube, like I was addressing men's issues, and then obviously I spoke about black women at some stage. But as I started investigating more, you know, I started realizing it wasn't even just down to say black women or just black males. I mean, you know, there's a lot of black women that have been duped into doing certain things, doing white supremacy's bidding, and some of them don't know that. But then there's a reason that they're in the position. I mean, it goes back to what I was saying when, you've got certain men that ain't available to do do jobs and what have you. Because back in the day, a lot of us had we had a bad attitude towards work and money. We thought, let's just get a job and, we get a wage and that's it. No one was really thinking about upwards mobility. And then when those jobs vanished, that kind of pushed black men into a certain corner. And then that gave birth to the whole deadbeat dad phrase, because obviously you got some guys that was obviously trying their best, but then you got some that couldn't compete. And then you got some that was kind of in that position. They thought, well, let me just get on with life anyway, have fun and have lots of women. I'll be straight up. I know people, in my dad's age group, and they've got kids all over the place, and they fit in that category. When they should have been trying to pick themselves up, they kind of thought, well, this is the natural order of things. This is where I am, but I can just live my life and live normally. The problem with that now is those guys that had daughters, and those daughters are our age, and those daughters grew up with either a bad dad or a dad that weren't there, and now those women now have an issue because of men from that generation. So, in their head, don't really want to swear on your show, but, black men ain't, they ain't worth nothing, so to speak, in their head because of how their mother was treated. And, the knock-on effect now is that, we've got this whole interracial dating thing over here. And, I keep hearing different stats. I couldn't even give you no accurate stats about how many people are interracially dating. It would be inaccurate for me to say because, not everyone lists that on any kind of census. But, there is a lot of it going down. I mean, if you go like down to the Croydon area, which is just on the edge of South London, you will see a lot of interracial dating from a lot of black males, with non-black women. And I think what's happening is a lot of people focus on that. They've made TV shows just like they have in the States over here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people blame what's happening in the black community because, apparently black men are going for these non-black women and what have you. Personally, I think there's more to it than that, but, it definitely is a source of the problem. But, do I feel that they're kind of pushing us that way? I kind of do, because it kind of just adds to the tension. Like I said, as I started doing more research and understanding the issues of black people, I've kind of understood it goes bigger than just the whole man and woman thing, which is why I don't really speak about it as much as I used to, because it's more like a symptom rather than an actual cause, So you've got the interracial thing going off crazy over here.
Have any of you been in a tragic arrangement with a white person?
What arrangement?
A tragic arrangement?
Never.
Tragic, did you just say?
Have any of you been in a tragic arrangement with a white person?
No.
Never.
Do any of you have white friends?
No.
Oh, yeah, got white friends. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, at my university, there's people in my class, people I work with. But when I say friend, it's more like an associate thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. Because, I mean, if I saw them and they say hi or good morning, I'd say hi and good morning back. I mean, but then having said that, if I don't downplay my blackness, if that's probably what the next question might be. Like, they pretty much know how I feel about these things, I constantly speak about it, like, when I'm around my people and, if they overhear a conversation. So, yeah. But, yeah, I do have, non-black friends, without a doubt. Because, you grow up in the area, and especially where I live in London, it's a very diverse environment. It's like a lot of mixed heritage. You're going to have, if you live on a street, you're going to have an Asian neighbor, a white neighbor, a black neighbor. It's just going to be very mixed. But in the end, you just gravitate to who you gravitate to. So.
What I mean by tragic arrangement, I mean dating.
No.
Okay. What do you do? Go ahead.
No, I was just laughing. Go on, carry on. What do you do if?
What do you do around white people who practice racism, white supremacy?
Well, I pull them up about it instantly. I mean, I've got a fiery tongue like that anyway. I'm pretty much the kind of person where, if I love someone, I'm going to tell them. If I hate them, I'm going to tell them. And if they do a wrong that I notice, then I'll call them on it. So if I notice, like, it's funny you say that, though, because I do that so much now that it's almost like a lot of people, they tend to behave themselves around me when they do that. Like, in usual situations, they might make, like, a stereotypical gesture, like, oh, I'm in Brixton and, I know I'm going to get robbed by these black boys. Let's just say, for example, if they said that, if I was around, they probably wouldn't dare. Because not only would it's not even a case of I would go at them in an insulting way, I would make them feel really stupid for saying that. Because there's so many examples I can give to them and just kind of throw that kind of negative connotation back at them to make them wish they never started. So around me, nah, it doesn't happen. But then I'm someone that watches Khalid Muhammad videos in my spare time on my phone when I'm on the way to university. So it's in me. I'm always going to do that. So.
Have you ever been physically mistreated by white people, and how did you handle the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
There was a time when I was coming back from basketball training, and at the time, there were lots of white males standing outside the park. You may call in the States a bar. I had basketball in my hand when I was walking home. I was bouncing it, and lo and behold, one of the white men started making monkey noises, gorilla noises. So at the time, I kind of lost it, and then, I asked him, you got a problem? What's the problem? Before you know it, his friends came out at the pub, and they pinned me up and, pushed me and slapped me up, and, this is when I was like 12. I was like 12. Still living in that area that, I mentioned earlier. But that was my first, incident of actually being, or moved to, by white people.
I've got an interesting story, and I'm not even proud of how I behaved at this particular occasion. But I was taking my son to school. I haven't even told you guys this either. I was taking my son to school. This is early morning, and I'm driving, and basically where I'm going to take my son to school. This is when he was in primary school. I think someone should turn the radio down because I'm getting feedback.
Hello?
Yeah,
everybody,
if you could try to keep the background noise down, that would be super helpful. Thank you. And maybe use your mute button if you're not speaking. That would help keep the background noise down. And no speakerphone, please. Thank you.
Yeah. I was on the way to taking my son to school, and I was driving. I was in a bit of a hurry, but got there anyway. I had a bit of road rage with someone, two white ladies. Basically, they was waiting for a truck to come past, but I didn't know they was doing that. I thought they just stopped in the road. And then I realized, so what I did, I put my car beside them so that they could reverse and so the truck could get past. And the lady just opened her window, started, shouting at me like, well, why are you trying to push in? And I'm thinking, why would I be pushing in like when we're driving? Like, I can see the trucks coming. I'm just trying to get past so you can move because obviously I'm blocking your way. But, they assumed I was trying to overtake them. So I wasn't. Continued shouting, and then I just closed the window, and that was it. And then they started doing monkey noises, and like actual like impressions, like, hands under the armpit. And this is like when I was a lot more fiery than I am now. So, I just reacted. I had my son in the car, and I got out the car literally, and I said, what are you doing? So, like, I held the window down, and by this time, the woman's trying to push the electric button so the windows go up, and I just held that right down until it broke, and I just looked at her, and I said, what? Mm-hmm. Like, because she was doing the whole monkey gesture. And, I'll say quite openly, I spat in her face.
Wow.
And I know that sounds harsh, but it's like, after I'd done it, I did feel bad because my son was in the car, and he saw me go off. But I just wasn't happy about that. I mean, who are you to make those kind of gestures to me over a road rage incident? And on top of, race never even had anything to do with it, so I just went off. So the window went down, and I spat at her, and then I went back in the car, and after that she said, she's going to call the police. I said, call them, And then after that, by then the truck had gone. I drove off, carried on, taking my son to school. I explained to my son, obviously you shouldn't do that. It's wrong, and what I did was silly, and not silly. What I did was wrong. It's not the right thing to do. You don't spit at people. But at the same time, I just saw it as a direct insult. I'm sure you lot can understand where I'm coming from, but, you just don't do that to me. But then again, having said that, where I'm from or where I grew up, it's like I've been around a lot of people that's done a lot worse to people for a lot less, but I just saw that as, I just saw it as unnecessary. You just don't do that. And these are the same people that will probably sit here and say, oh, it's not about race, we're all equal. And that also helps me, it helped me rubber stamp my attitude in terms of how I go on about myself as a black person. Because they'll be quick to pull the race card when they're ready. So it and when I watched the YouTube clip of the postal worker being assaulted by the woman, that all brought it back to me again because I thought the whole scenario was just so similar. Someone bringing the whole racial stereotypes into play just because they've had a bad day or they're upset. And I was like, nah.
I don't have any. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, Justice.
Yeah, go on, Justice.
Oh, his line got muted. I'm sorry. He is there. Sorry about that. I didn't see Black Power. Are you Black Power Stick?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Gotcha.
No, like my instance is because like the geographics of my area in London, even though there's a lot of black people there, we're very close to white people in terms of, where we are and where they are, and even with Indians too and Pakistanis. And I can say even with me and my boys, we've got into a lot of things. I'm 23 now, and since I was 12, I've had back and forths with a lot of them. Even when I was 15 years old, I got rushed, or that's like I got jumped by a whole lot of skinhead guys. And there was another time when some guys came for, they tried to jump me and some of my boys, and they caught one of my boys, and they punched him in the back of his head, and the whole back of his head was split. And a week later, we went to the same place where we knew where they were, and then we chased a lot of these same skinhead guys. And then even though at that time, obviously, everyone was on fire, we beat the hell out of one of them that we caught. And even when I went to school, the school I went to was white and Asian, and one of my boys had an issue with another white boy that went to a neighboring school, that's still close to the very same school I went to, and we had beaten him and 2 of his boys, and there were 6 of them, and we run them out of their own building. So we have had instances because of the geographics of the country, so they're very close to us. So we can get into issues with, say, Eastern Europeans, which are Polish and Russian whites. We can get into instances with skinhead whites, which are English whites. And we can also get into issues with Indians and Pakistanis and Bangladeshis because they come into gangs. Many of these Indian groups form gangs. And then we can also get into issues with other blacks because we get into this postcode issue a lot of times. Like if you're from E6, you don't like a guy from SE1. So one of the problems is when it comes to getting into issues in the UK amongst black people within London, it's like we're in a position where we're in the centre and every enemy surrounded around us, and we don't know if one of our own is an ally or an enemy in the battle, or then we also looking at other whites, because sometimes I've actually been around whites who like fighting. Like we've got a lot of football hooligans around, so if they don't like Asians, they will actually let you fight with an Asian or cause you and an Asian to fight so they can join you and help you fight him, because they want to fight. So it don't look on a racial element. It can look like he was backing you up. So, you know, due to the geographics of the area, it's very easy for us to get into issues.
Yep.
So, you know, does anyone know, are you with me on what I'm saying on those grounds?
Total. I just wanted to also throw in, we had one additional black male who is also in the UK join the line. He's an investor here at the program, and he saw that I was having you all on the program and wanted to join in. So he is also here, and I don't know how you want to be referenced, but you can let everybody know how you would like to be titled and if you have a thought on the question.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You can just call me Mike.
Mike, how you doing?
What's happening, Mike? What's good? What's good, family?
Hey, Mike.
What's going on? Hello, can I be heard?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Question, I was just doing something in the kitchen. Hello, yeah, what was the question?
The question was if we've ever got into any situations and conflicts with white people, and to go through a brief story, which we have to explain to the young lady justice.
Okay. To be honest with you, I don't really have too much contact with white people. There's 1 or 2 white people that I work with, but outside of that, I don't really socialize with too many white people. So I can't really answer that question.
You sound like you're from Birmingham. Am I right?
Yes, correct, man.
Okay. Yeah. Over London, it's a lot more diverse and stuff. I won't even lie. Birmingham seems like they're a lot more awake in terms of, like, you know, the black experience than they are in London. From what from the people I know over there. Yeah, Birmingham and Wolverhampton, you're probably going to get a bigger set of black people that are actually a lot more aware of what's going on.
In Birmingham.
Well, in Birmingham, it's more, I'd say, because I've got family in London as well, but in Birmingham, I'd say it's more segregated, if you know what I mean. We kind of got our little area, and they've got theirs, kind of thing. So, you know, it's not really as multicultural, I'd say, as London.
Or you go on his show, Gus T's show.
Okay.
But to be fair, I think in England in general, we're a lot more confused about racism, white supremacy, than people in the U.S. from what I've seen.
Yeah, but you see, but Mike, the difference is because the way the racial system is set, is our racial system is very covert and the American system is very overt.
Yep.
So when you've got a covert system which covertly deals with you, you always become a victim to the miseducation and a victim of infiltration. So that's why there's so much plans to halt our progression. Because remember, you see, when you're in an area like Birmingham, and when you're in an area like Birmingham, and because there's so much outlets and black networks within Birmingham and Wolverhampton, and I must admit, I know black people that work in them from outside of London, and they do a good job. I mean, we can't fault their job. You know, I know a young black lady who works in Wolverhampton helping black people in mental health units, and there's a lot of units and things going on within those areas which cater to black people within mental health. But now what happens, what I find with those areas as well, sometimes with the multiculturalism and diverseness, sometimes a lot of black people, there becomes a confusion where mixed race people now want to be a part of the banner. And then there becomes an issue of who's that mixed person. So then, as a black person in a white supremacist system, a lot of mixed race people also get used as pawns against us. And then many times we're in a situation of confusion where we don't know whether that mixed race person's an ally or a friend in action. Because we can all admit, we've all had, from me, Skydrifter, to Heavenly Truth One, and even our other brothers debate the cause, we've been around some mixed race people who have shown that they got our back. And then there's also other mixed race people who you know is an automatic traitor. So what happens with a system like white supremacy, okay, when you see the media now where there's a big facade of mixed race people getting promoted within many different strategic and prominent positions and higher powered positions, and even when you watch shows like EastEnders, when they put a lot of mixed race people in these shows, you then, I call them replacement blacks, because we had an era where you had black people coming fresh from the Caribbean. You had the next era where you had blacks like the Frank Bruno born in the UK. Then now is a mixed race era. Because all the era, our dad's era, which had children with non-black women, you're now seeing all of those generations manifest now. So hello?
Hello, yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I believe now that was also another way. Having blacks, having children with non-blacks was a white supremacy tool. Because if you study the whole system of white supremacy when it comes to black people and who we have our children with, for a long time we had that coconut generation like the Frank Brunos, and you had the Paul Inces in the football. But now, if you study the system now, I'm finding that there's a lot more black women who are now with white men. So it's the same template of white supremacy, but it's been reversed. So all it is, it's the same plan though. But I mean, now you've got when I was at even with me and my brother Hartalk, as we do with economics, when we looked at some of the we went to an economic seminar. There was a black woman that done a lecture. She was on the program, and you got a lot of black women who are becoming property millionaires. And she married to a white man. And then now, when you look at a lot of these public sector jobs like Haringey Council, etc., many black women who are earning more than $50,000 a year are with white males. So again, there is a big white supremacist element going on there.
Definitely.
So then, when you even when you see, like, okay, another way, like, even when you look at, say, for example, the music side, you know, as we're a people who take part in the music, I'm looking at, when I'm seeing groups like M-Dubs, etc., get promoted more, we can all of us are from different parts of London and Birmingham. We can find black artists with no problem, whether it's grime, hip-hop, or singing, or soul music. How is it with all the blacks in music, you get a group, you get, say, an M-Dubs that are highly promoted more in comparison to many other black individuals or black singing groups?
I can answer that. Because they're safe. Because I mean, if you look at the artist called Bashi who made a tune called Black Boys, you know, there was a big uproar about that. They wanted that off the air and everything. And this goes back to what I was saying before. They want you to be safe. They want you to be unthreatening. They want you to downplay your blackness. And M-Dubs is the quintessential example of that, because they're safe. Because I mean, it's got one black dude in it, another mixed race dude, and a white girl. You see what I'm trying to say? So surely, and the way they can get away with that as well, they can say that they're keeping up racial inclusivity because there's a black person in that group as well. Do you see what I'm saying? So
But
it's almost like a medley of different people.
So to cut you, don't you see this whole diversity thing is being pushed, even with that group diversity?
No, that's the phone number.
You've got those dances, right? Diversity.
You know,
Britain's Got Talent.
Sorry, go on, Skadrifer.
Yeah. Called Diversity, and I think there's only about one black male in that group, and the rest are like all white and non-white, non-black, like mixed. Like I see both of your points. It's just like they're phasing out the melanated, the raw melanin. They're phasing it out, through the media. Even over there in the States at the moment, I think two of the most prominent artists that you've got really doing things is Nicki Minaj and Drake. Now, if you look,
echoing.
Hello?
That's very interesting. I've never had that happen on a program.
It sounds like an MC that we've got over here called D.W.E. But
and vocals in that, and then rolling tongues in that.
Yeah, but sorry, go on, Gus. You were saying?
That's crazy. His line is still doing it. What I'm going to do is I wanted to see if anyone who called in had questions, because there are a lot of people on the phone line. So I want to see if they have questions for all the people who called in.
You should have said, man, we would have let them call in before.
Well, we were enjoying. If you have questions for our guests joining us live from the UK, press 1 and I can get your hand. Let me see. I'm going to check Skydrifter's line to see if it has been corrected.
Yeah, because you've got like 8 minutes left or so.
Okay. What I'm going to do, Skydrifter, you're back with us. What I'm going to do, I'm going to reload Skype just to make sure that I don't have any issues. So if anybody out there, if you think you want to continue listening, because the live stream is going to end in about 7 minutes, you should let me know now. I don't like getting notices at the last minute because it might, I might not be able to get you on. So if you need me to add you to Skype, now would be the time to let me know. Dial in. If you want to dial in, the number is 347-215-6071. Press 1 and I can get you online if you have a question. I see some people already putting their hand up. I'm going to take a quick commercial break just so I can reload my Skype. I'm going to redial Mike and Skydrifter. I'll redial you all, and we'll be right back to get to questions after this commercial break. Context of white supremacy.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Alrighty, context of white supremacy. We are back. I am reconnecting everyone on my Skype line. Should have that taken care of in about 15 seconds. And people are putting their hands up, so we will get right to the phone line. All righty. Forget on one line really quick. All right, Skydrifter's with. Oh, lost one.
Hello?
You're with the Skydrifter.
Great stuff.
Ruby. I'm going to go to the phone lines and dial in Mr. Henry at the same time. A person who called in with a question from a block number. Did you have a question for our guests?
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, to my fellow non-whites in the UK. What time is it over in your area?
Hello?
Yes, hello. What time is it over there in the UK?
Oh, it's 11 o'clock.
11?
The night time. Yeah, night time.
Oh, 11 p.m.?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, y'all are up rather late, so let me be very brief so when y'all could go to your beds. What I was going to ask you were speaking of the non-whites and the marrying the non-whites that are from the Caribbean as well as the Africa that are marrying with whites. And you said that there's been an uptick with the women because now we're seeing a lot of people like Sade and Candy Newton and I believe Corinne Bailey Ray. I believe she's one of those products of two different parentage. It's more on the lower socioeconomic level as well as on the upper socioeconomic level that you're seeing this crossing the color line, so to speak, to mate and to produce these children.
So you say, are you asking, do I believe it's on the lower social level?
Is it a combination of both the lower as well as upper socioeconomic levels that they're crossing the color line to mate and produce the children?
I do believe so. Yeah, I do believe so. Yeah. And I think it comes down to the reason why they have to promote it at all levels, because you have to realize, I mean, even when you talk to some young black youths on the street, you've even got some black youths even admitting not to really liking black girls as much, but they'll tell you in a quick heartbeat that they're more into mixed girls. They'll say, yo, I don't like black girls, I'm into I'm into my mixed girls.
What a disgrace. So you're saying the conscious level over there, would you say it's much lower than it is in the U.S.? When it comes to the blacks, really, the self-hatred that they have amongst themselves?
I think, no, it's the same. It's on similar lines. I wouldn't say it's more, I wouldn't say it's less, but I think the understandings we have are different. I think the difference is, case in point, when I look at, say, the geographics, like case in point, you said you're from New York, yeah? My family's all in East New York, all over Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, yeah? I spend a lot of time in East New York. I find that, say, for example, in comparison to New York, if you want to be around white people, per se, in New York and Brooklyn, you need to go to places like Sheepshead Bay or maybe Howard Beach, etc. But now, in the UK, because white people are closer to us in terms of geographics and where we live, it's very easy for us to come in contact with them, so we're more closer to them in terms of understanding who they are and how they think. So if we see that they're a closet racist, it's more easy for us to know because there's more of them around us. So I think on the same grounds of that now, what I find when I talk to a lot of, say, white people, my cousins, all my cousins in New York included, when I explain, case in point, one of my cousins, I told him, if he wants a white girl, he could come to the UK and get that easy. And my cousin was shocked at me at how easy and how confident I was talking to him about the ability to get white females. So now, with me having that understanding, when I'm talking to my own cousin in America who's American, it then shows me that, sometimes the opinions and the understandings of what, say, black Americans have to one race or another in comparison to black British is very different. Case in point, black Americans are very close to the Latino community, whether it be Puerto Ricans or Hispanic people or the Mexicans. So what then happens is when we say our opinions about Puerto Rican people, many times I've been around other black people in the UK that don't even know what Puerto Ricans look like. They just think because the girl's half black and half white and she got a big behind that she's Puerto Rican. But then I've been New York. I've been around them, so I know what I'm dealing with. So, the consciousness, what happens is what we lack in one area, you may be stronger in regards to another, and then what we may be stronger in, you may lack in another. Does that answer your question?
Yes, you have covered it
Hang
very
on one
nicely.
second. Hang on one second. I'm sorry. Hang on one second. I'm sorry. The live stream is ending, and I was going to get the people who called in, I was going to open their lines up, but I just wanted to make the announcement to please keep the background noise down. There are a lot of people on the line, so to preserve the quality of the broadcast, if you called in, your line is open, but if you could use your mute button, if you are not speaking, that would be great. Please try to be in a quiet area so we can preserve the quality of the program. If you called in and you have a hand up, your line is open. I just wanted to get that in so that we can, everybody can be heard clearly that's listening. If you called in and you want to speak, you should probably press 1 right now so that I can get your line open in case my switchboard crashes and then you'll be stuck. Please continue.
Can you repeat what you said, please, lady, madam?
Yes. No, what I was going to say in this case there, where you were saying that we're on our end, we might be lacking in one area, and y'all might not be in that particular area, but we still have the perception that having someone of a mixed race, so to speak, is the preferable choice for both the male and the female species over there of the non-white, rather than mating with someone of themselves, especially if the person happens to have a dark hue. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, because even I've been around, say for example, when I've been around a lot of Indians, because I know a lot of Indians, whether they be from India or Pakistan, and they will overly promote being with a light-skinned Indian or a light-skinned Pakistani, but when it comes to being around a mixed-race girl, whether she's half black and Indian or half white and Indian, automatically that light-skinned Indian will get dismissed in comparison to the light-skinned mixed-race girl. So what happens is I find that, we got a girl who was a singer, Alicia Dixon. I'm noticing she's very a part of the celebrity gossip, and she was on a show that we have called Strictly Come Dancing. And I'm finding that for a long time, I heard a few white guys say that they don't like black women, but they like Alicia Dixon. But then Alicia Dixon is mixed. So she's not one of us. And that's what happens on many occasions. You get black people that will say they don't like certain black women, but then they'll put out, say, a Halle Berry or an Alicia Dixon, obviously who we have in the UK, and then they will promote that as the black woman who they say they should like. Even with the whole white supremacy element, I know a girl who's dark-skinned, and she's into acting, and she went for a movie audition, and the description said that they need a black person to do a certain type of role, and all the black women that were turned up, they dismissed them after they auditioned and picked a mixed girl, and then they only picked my black female friend after she took it to the main director and said, you always audition for blacks, but then you always pick mixed people who are not black. And then straight away they dismissed that mixed girl. So what happens is mixed people, again, like I've stated, they're used as pawns against blacks. Because any time now there's a saying that has been promoted, best of both. So if you're mixed, you have the best of both because you got the best of white and the best of black. There was a propaganda article. You can type mixed race is the perfect race. And that was put out there by, I think it was the Sun or Daily Mail, one of those newspapers. And
are you there, sir? It looks like he might.
Hello?
It looks like we might have lost him. I don't see. Lined up. The 2-hour stream ended, and so he's not going to be able to dial back in. So I guess we'll have to have you all back on the program together to continue the dialogue with everybody in. But we still have Mike and Skydrifter on, but it looks like we lost Power Stick.
Yeah. I'm sure we could arrange that for the same time next week or anytime.
I would be down. That was something that I wanted to do, is to try to get more regular input, participation from people who are outside the state, non-white people black people who are outside the States. So, hopefully. And as I said, Stephen Lawrence, his mother, will be on the program next weekend. So that's great. Mr. Henry is still with us, though, so we still have half of our black folks in the UK. And is your female partner there, Skydrifter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If she wants to share, if she wants to share her views on anything, that would be great. It would be great to hear from her as well. Any of the other folks who called in? Oh, Pam. Pam, I think she had a question. I'm glad she called back. Pam, did you have a question?
Well, I had a question for the young man who was talking. Greetings to my UK brothers. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm glad to hear from you and to get your opinions, because I've been emailing with a couple of UK brothers, but it's great just to be able to hear you live. So thank you for participating. I did have a question. I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, I know what the question was. One of the brothers that emails me from the UK said that a lot of African people are leaving the UK because the climate is becoming distinctly unwelcome for African people. I wanted to know, what's the future, in your opinion, for blacks and people of African descent in the UK? What do you think is the future for you guys there?
Well, being that my parents are from the continent of Africa, and being that they've been here as long as they have been, which is over 34 years, what I'm finding is, I can only really speak for myself at the moment. What I'm finding with my parents is that they still hold on to their cultural values. But it obviously conflicts with the day-to-day, hustle and bustle, the day-to-day tussle of white supremacy. From my observation, as other people, it's more or less the youth. When the youth from the continent come over, overnight they're different people. They're dressing like everybody here. They're picking up the slang. A lot of the customs, are left behind, depending on what tribe, they're from. A lot of them, because a lot of the youth, if their parents, adhere to who they are, in terms of their background, then they'll pick up the languages. They'll speak the languages. So it's not only English they'll be able to speak. They'll be able to speak, maybe a multitude of languages, depending on how many parents, depending on, what parent is from where on the continent. But, overall, one thing that I can say is with the older generation, they're really trying their best to fit in. They're really trying their best to fit in. It's as if, you turn a blind eye to, racial matters that occur within London or the UK. It's as if they're not. I can't say they're content, because I've met, a few older people from, West Africa that are bus drivers, or that have degrees, some very, very, very high-end degrees that would actually help us collectively as a people, in terms of black people. But again, because they're subject to having to support their family and pay the rent, to the nice white people that are here in the UK, they're not really themselves. They're not really themselves when they step over here, to be honest.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
Mr. Henry, we still have another. I think we might even have two. Your female partner and Mr. Henry. Do you all have a thought on Pam's question?
Yeah, sure. Give me a moment. Hold on.
No problem. Mr. Henry, you want to go or? Or
sorry, Tom. Can you repeat that question? Please?
Yeah, I was wondering because the economic climate is getting worse all over the world, and I had a couple of brothers from the UK who had told me that a lot of Africans are leaving the UK because it's becoming really unfriendly toward African and black people in Europe and in parts of, in the UK. And I just wondered what future do you guys see any kind of future there for you? I don't mean just make and do. I mean, do you think that it's becoming more dangerous to be there and that you might be better off somewhere else?
Well, to be honest with you, my lady at the moment, she's on the continent, and we're making plans to kind of move out there pretty soon, within the next year or so, because the atmosphere here is it's getting very hostile. There's a rise in, like far-right political politics.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That sounds like the same thing the brother that emailed me said, that they're going to be leaving. He's making plans to leave now. Well, it just sounds so much like the UK is so much like the U.S., which, of course, white supremacy works the same way no matter where you go.
I agree. But I think in the UK, the racism here is much more refined. I think there are a lot more... They're a lot more refined with their racism. So it's not like the U.S. kind of swept all under the rug. In England, we don't really speak about racism. Mm-hmm. We don't have Martin Luther King days and stuff like that. It's kind of we don't really address racism in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys got a different history too. I think that's part of the U.S. is the difference is, the history of black people for the most part is something that it created a wound that's never going to heal. So, what are you going to do? I just also want to say hello, Justice, and greetings to you, Gus. I'm sorry, I was so excited about the UK brothers. Hi. I was so excited about the UK brothers being on the program. I lost my manners. So anyway, I will keep listening, and hopefully, you guys will continue.
Justice as well. I forgot about Justice. Greetings.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, greetings.
And Mr. Mike, did you have something else you wanted to share?
Not really. I can't really think of anything at the moment, but I'll definitely share it if I think of something.
Okay. Skydrifter, are you back with us?
I am, sir.
Okay.
I have my I have my younger sister.
Yes, if I can be heard.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
Skydrifter.
I have my younger sister. Yeah, I have my younger sister with me and my female partner.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you want to,
That would be great to hear from some black females as well. That would be awesome.
Let me I'll hand it over to my sister.
Okay.
Hello?
Greetings.
Gus?
Yes.
Do you think we could have the people that was on the show today? Do you think we could have them back on?
Sure. Okay. We'll work on that. The female caller, how do you want to be referenced?
How do I want to be referenced?
Yeah. What do you want us to call you?
Oh, just
Say again, please.
Ree.
Ree?
Yeah.
Ree. Okay. Groovy.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your views. It's always great to hear from black people in other parts of the world. Wow, I don't know. Anything you would like to share? I guess there was a question on the table about how you feel about the future of Black people, African people in Europe, and just how do you feel about what's going down with Black people, African people in Europe, and what's going to be happening in the future. If you want to answer that or anything else you'd like to share about racism, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, well, first of all, my answer to that question is I don't think that things are getting better for Black people, especially. Reason being is because a lot of Black youth are being targeted by the police. They're not being given an equal opportunity to show who we are as Black people. And I think they're also being manipulated in terms of, if you take it back to slavery, what was taken from us, Black children, Black youth of today don't know their history. And that is something, to me, that is quite concerning.
Do you think you'll be still a resident in the UK 20 years down the road?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. No. I mean, for me, as a Black person, I have suffered a lot of racial abuse. I don't think I'll be here in the next 20 years, definitely not. I've had a lot of incidents in terms of I've been beaten up by two white males, and nothing was done about it. I actually had a black eye. I was when I was in secondary school. The police were involved in everything, but till today, the issue was never resolved. It was never figured out. Nobody could done anything about it. And even growing up as a child as well, in my primary school, I was the only Black girl. There was no other Black children around that I could play with, that I could say, okay, you know what, this is my Black friend that I've got. For me, it was like, I was always singled out. That's how I felt. And even till now, I still feel that way in the presence of my colleagues as well. And there was an incident that happened whereby one of the teachers to my mum that she felt because her belief that she felt there was something wrong with me. And she asked my mum, why don't you buy me a Black doll? And my mum just got angry and said to her, would it make a difference if I bought her a white doll?
Gus?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say to Pam, I apologize if I didn't answer her question adequately. What do I see for Black people if they don't, if we continue staying in Europe? I see a lot of racial unrest. I see a lot of tension in regards to right now the process of refinement, but I see a lot of it is coming to surface now. A lot more hostile. Even on TV, the kind of adverts that we're seeing now, they're kind of clowning us. If I could just give a brief example, last week after work, I came back, and on TV was National Television Awards, and you had white people dressed in black tuxedos, under a white dome. And one of the programs that they showed for an award was Big Brother. And in Big Brother, one of the ladies that was, on the show, it showed a skit, or it showed a little preview of Big Brother at the time, where she was sitting outside in the garden with another white female and another black female. And a comment was made by this white female. She said, she asked to the white female that's beside her, and the question was, do you remember the lady in America who almost got her face torn off by a chimpanzee, or who got her face moved by a chimpanzee? And the white lady said yes. And they both turned round and they both looked at the white black lady. The non-black lady, she was totally oblivious she was unaware of what they were talking about. But it struck me that, after that clip was shown, the whole audience clapped. The whole audience clapped. And, I was just looking for one non-white person in the audience, but I couldn't see one. Another example is advert called Covania. Covania is like a cough syrup, it's the cough medicine. And the ad starts with a black lady laying in bed. She's got an afro. She's looking under the weather. She's looking down. She's coughing and she's not feeling too well. And then you've got a bull that smashes through the door, and he gives her the cough syrup. As soon as she takes and drinks the cough syrup, she's walking out. But the difference is that she's walking out. She's got a suit on, her hair's permed, and behind her is a white man in a bathtub, and on the walls behind the bathtub are black and white tiles. And this white man, as the black lady walks with confidence, he blows the soap out of his hands after she walks. And I'm seeing these things, where I am, and I'm looking at them because I know I'm not paranoid, I'm sure many of us who, are aware of what's going on in the UK, we know we're not paranoid. We know we are not paranoid. We know what's going on. We can see what's happening. White people know what's going on. They see what's happening. It's only a matter of time before it surfaces. And I think everybody kind of knows that, because the group of people actually feel as if their values are being stripped away. They feel as if they don't have anything anymore because the so-called Africans or the so-called Asians, so-called, or Chinese are coming over and they're taking all their jobs. They're stripping British values away. We're classified within their system construct as a minority. Even if you look at that word minority, it automatically tells you that you're minor, you're below, you're underneath, you're an underclass. And we've accepted that over here. A lot of us have accepted that, and I think at the moment white people are just playing games. They're just playing games, having fun.
We go again. Wow.
Did that again. We'll see if that clears up. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see if it cleared up. Your line. Oh, there we go. Isn't that amazing? I hope that's being recorded. Scott, I hope that's being recorded. System of racism, white supremacy. I hope that was being recorded. And we'll make an effort to have our guests on again, and to hopefully have other programs. I'm really serious. People that are listening, there are a lot of people out there who are listening outside the states. Thousands, it looks like. Call in. If you have Skype, I have people that dialed in. Skydrifters on Skype. We've done other programs with people who are in different parts of the world on Skype. Let's see. Oh, are you back there, Scott?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. When you listen to this program, I hope it recorded some of the interesting audio that we captured. I suspect racist white supremacists could be, causing a disruption, but there was some interesting interference. We couldn't hear you for a bit, but glad you're still there, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Is
your partner, your female partner, is she there as well?
Yes. Okay. Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Hope this is helpful for the non-white people in the States. Global system. This is why it's in the definition. Global system of racism, white supremacy. Sounds like they're going, Tea Party sounds exactly like what they're experiencing over there by a different name. White people tend to coordinate things very nicely. Very nicely.
It's an excellent show. Thank you for that.
All right. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, greetings. If you could tell us what you would like us to call you and anything you would like. I'm sorry?
Is my line open? Hello? Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Nero.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll mute my line, sir.
No worries. Yes, what would you like us to call you? And I think the question, I guess, was still just about your experiences with
Welcome
racism.
To the house.
Your experiences.
Thank you very much.
Your experiences with racism in the UK, and what you think the future is going to be like for Black people in the UK next 20 years or so.
Well, okay. Firstly, you can call me Renee. I go by that name. The experience that I've been through was, again, in school. I was quite young. I was actually picked on for being the only non-white child there, and it was quite intense. It went on for quite a while. It would start off with small things like sanding the hair, pushing around, and because I was quite a quiet child and very shy, I wouldn't say anything to Mum, but she kind of clicked on when I didn't actually want to go to school. She said, what's wrong? I said, no, I'm okay. So she dropped me to school, and this time it got quite bad. I remember this girl, I'll never forget her, she pushed me, and I fell, and I grazed my leg really bad. And I told the teacher, and I'll never forget, the teacher at the time said to me, don't worry, just, go to the toilets, put some water on it, and you'll be okay. And I thought to myself, well, why isn't she saying anything to the young girl? She hurt me, she upset me, she's been picking on me for time. So, I explained to my mom what had happened. She came to collect me from school, and from there, my mom kind of let loose, as I would say. She really, really and truly told the teacher how she felt. She told the parent of the child who bullied me quite a lot how she felt. And from that day, I guess it kind of stopped. And the funny thing is, the same girl that used to pick on me wanted to be my friend afterwards, and she'd always try to come to me and play and say sorry, and thinking about it now, it's amazing what I went through, and obviously what other people may have gone through in school, because it always starts with school. And being at a young age, I didn't know any better to say anything. Like I said again, I was quite shy. I didn't really say nothing, and I was by myself quite a lot. And it was sad, I enjoyed school, but it was sad to go through that at such a young age, and it to this day I still remember very clear, and I let and I just tend to kind of let my partner know how it was for me when I was growing up, because it was quite hard being the only Black child in that school again. So that was my experience. It's still quite tough talking about it now, but that was my experience then. But in 20 years, what I see, it would get harder. Now it's like it's just the beginning. It will get harder. In 20 years' time, I would not like to be here. I would not like to be here. I wouldn't even want my family to be here, because it's going to just get worse. It's going to get harder. Everything is just going to come, and we're not going to cope. And to be honest, I'd rather know and learn what I can from now, teach my children and my family, and then try to help whoever else around me, and just leave, because I do not see a happy ending in 20 years' time. I don't see any kind of
change or progression. It will just get harder. It will get worse. More crime, more murders, everything. It wouldn't change. That's how I feel about how it will be here in the next years or so. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Nero, anybody?
I would just like to encourage my UK brothers and sisters that the only power and safety you have is in unity. The cardinal rule for building power, a power base, is the males and females of that race have to come together and stand together and let nothing tear them apart. We've all fallen for this hype that white is better, that white ice is colder, that white women are hotter, that mixed race women are this or whatever. But the history throughout the world over the history of white supremacy has shown that they've used interracial sex to divide and conquer every non-white population on the planet, from Australia to Hawaii to the Fuji Islands to America to Latin America to Africa to Brazil, wherever you go. It has always, this interracial sex has always destroyed the genetics and the sanity and the ability of non-white people to defend and protect themselves. So I would just like to encourage you, the same way I'm trying to encourage black people here, the black male and black female must stand together and not fall for the hype of divide and conquer, not fall for the hype of interracial sex, not fall for anything. Don't let them pit you against each other. Don't let them make you think you're the enemies of each other. Don't be fooled by the false friendships. Don't be fooled by the false allies. You better stay together and stand together. Otherwise, there's no hope of us surviving. So I just want to share that with you.
Thank you, Pam.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful, Pam. I really appreciate that. And I co-sign everything you just said.
That's right.
I wanted to ask the female caller, can I be heard? No.
Hello?
Can I be heard?
We can hear you.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello,
Hi. I wanted to ask you, you said that you would leave the UK, and I'm wondering, where would you go?
Well, my parents are from Caribbean, Jamaica, and my partner is of African origin. So for me, I would definitely move to an African country, definitely to Gambia, to start fresh, and to meet my people and to learn more and to gain more experience, definitely. To obviously raise my family in a new environment, somewhere where it's peaceful and they're amongst their own people.
Did you say Gambia?
Definitely Gambia.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful place. Thank you.
The female call. I forgot what you said you wanted us to call. White. I forgot what you said you wanted us to call you.
Sister Gus? Is that my younger sister?
Your female partner? I think your sister. She said Reed.
Yeah, no, this is Renee. My partner.
Oh, okay, Renee. Got it. Okay. Have white guys tried to talk to you, date you? I know you talked about how tough it was at school. Dating and white people, has that been an issue?
I've never dated a white male before. I actually don't have white friends. Maybe from secondary school I had a few, but going towards leaving secondary school into college and so forth, I never really associated myself with white people as such. I always tend to stick with my own folk. I've never dated a one person before. Whereas, I mean, nowadays they do tend to look, but I'm just no way near interested. And a few people have actually said that in school, that they can see me dating a white man or marrying one, and that actually upset me when they said that, because being that perhaps maybe I speak proper, or I'm studying, I'm learning, I come from an okay family background, so they would assume that I'll be dating one, and that always just upset me, and always just to stress that, don't judge, you don't know who I am, what I like, and, I'm obviously graced to have somebody who is obviously non-white, and I'm very happy with him. So for me, never in a million years would I ever go there. I'm sorry, never. Yeah, that might sound a bit harsh, but it's just not my type. That's not for me. No way. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to pass it over to Reen now, so she'll probably elaborate on what I just said as well.
Oh, that's great. Get two. Outstanding.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Gus. It's me again.
I don't.
Can
you speak up a little bit, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me now? Okay, yeah. I'd just like to elaborate more on what Renee said.
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. What I'd like to say is that 20 years from now, I don't see young.
I hope that's being recorded. I hope that's being recorded. Let's see if that gets cleared up. System of racism. Yes, ma'am.
Maybe this is a compliment to your program. Maybe there are a lot more people listening than they're comfortable with.
Oh, we can. Okay, that might be true. Okay, we can hear you now. Please continue.
What I was saying is that in 20 years, I myself personally, I don't see many black people that are graduates living in the UK anymore. Reason being is because for black people to get jobs, even as a black man or a black woman getting jobs in the UK, it's tremendously difficult. For example, I had a friend of mine, she studied law, went to law school here, so she has all the qualifications of somebody that has studied law. And when she went to Nigeria, I spoke to her mother last week, and I heard that she's actually been given the job now. And that really upset me, because why should she have to go back to her home country before she's given an opportunity? I'm not saying it's nothing to be proud of, but why was she not given the same opportunity as people that were born here? Because she had the qualifications. And that's what a lot of black people are struggling with now. I mean, even to do a cleaning job, a black person, you have to have your papers in the country. You have to have a British passport. You have to be able to say that, you know what, I'm actually legit to work in the country before they can give you a job. And what I find is the white people won't do the jobs that we do, cleaning, working in McDonald's, sweeping the roads in the street. They won't do that. But it's us, black people. We're not given the opportunity that we deserve. And even as international students as well come over to this country, the amount of tuition fee that they're paying is just ridiculous, just because they want to study in a foreign country. And that is just one of the questions that I ask: why? Why is it that if an international student wants to come and study here, why are they charged so much? Because for me, I'm studying at the moment. And I actually had a friend of mine that was complaining. He said that he was actually paying $3,000 per semester. And I think that's just ridiculous. Why should it be? Why should we have to go through this when all of our resources have been stolen away from us? And then that's why you have African boys from Nigeria. The British government, I was listening in Sky News, is complaining that, you know, the Nigerian government is forcing them to open up another prison cell for the fraudsters that are committing these atrocities, doing fraud and scams and things like that. But I was thinking at the same time, when you've stolen from another nation what belongs to them, you shouldn't therefore complain when they do the same to you. That's how I look at it. I'm not saying it's right, but we have to look at Africa has been robbed as a whole. I mean, seriously robbed. The last time when I traveled to Nigeria was like year 2004. My parents went last year.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Context of white supremacy. Let's see. Distortion. Still a little bit of distortion.
I was having a hard time understanding her.
I did as well. I have headphones on, so I turned the volume up, and it was a little clear, but I was having, it wasn't as clear as the previous female.
Gus, I'm going to ask a friend of mine. I'm going to ask a friend of mine who's really technical and ask him what he thinks might cause this kind of interference. And I'll hit you with
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll hit you with e-note and let you know what he says. Because if anybody has an answer, he's probably the best person I could ask.
I would appreciate that because I have several people on my line, and theirs is the only one with distortion. I think Mike is still with us, and he's. Are you still with us, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just listening, God, man. I'm listening, man. It's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, he's in the UK, and no problem there. So I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. Oh, okay.
What part of the UK are they in?
Renee, I believe, and Ree. I'm sorry, Ree. Ree.
Oh, we're in London. London.
Okay.
They're in
Mike?
London.
Where's
Mike?
Sorry?
Excuse me.
I'm in the West Midlands.
The West End. Okay.
There was some distortion in your line, so we weren't really able to hear your response. If you want to give it another shot, that would be, we would appreciate it.
Okay, London.
Oh, we heard that. I meant the response when you were giving your thoughts on the difficulties in them making non-white students pay so much money if they don't live there to go to school, and you got cut off. We weren't able to hear kind of the end.
What I was saying is that I actually have a friend, because I'm currently studying nursing at the moment, and he was complaining to me. He was saying that he's paying so much tuition fees, and he can't understand why, just because he's an international student. You know, it's not about so much to do with the money aspects of it, but it's as though he's not given the opportunity as those that were born here. That was the main issue as well. But in saying that as well, before I got cut off, what I was saying is that the last time I actually went to Nigeria was the year 2004, and my parents went last year, 2010. And they're saying that the way things have changed rapidly, it seems as though very, very soon, it's going to be the white people coming over to Africa. Africa, even though when you read the news and when you watch TV programs, they will show rough parts of Africa. They never show the good side of, the beauty of Africa. Africa is such a beautiful, beautiful place. If only we unite as black people together, I think we could really make something more of ourselves. That's what I believe. That's what I believe, seriously. Because we don't need it from white people. We don't. If anything, more so they need things from us. You have to look at for example, oil, petrol. Where is that coming from? The gold, the diamonds, where is that coming from? All those sources are coming from Africa. As much as these people don't want to accept it, it's coming from Africa. And that's one thing that the children are not taught in their history classes, because they cover all that up. They cover all that up. But in 20 years' time, to be honest, I think it's going to get hard. It's already getting harder for black people, but it's going to get worse. It is going to get worse because jobs are just going to be thrown out the window for black people, to be honest. Even in my current workplace now, the amount of black people that have been sacked, I can say unfairly, is just a disgrace, honestly. It really is. The amount of black people that have been sacked unfairly. If you don't know your rights, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a very big thing.
I would like to say that subscribe is the third thing. I'd like to say that black people have no rights within the system of white supremacy.
I'd like to add to that as well. To say the reason why that is because as black people, I think we've also we've made that thing. Because when you look at it, you get some black people that want to be white. They feel that if they don't act a certain way around people, they're not going to be accepted. Maybe it's the way they speak, maybe it's the way they act. But what I've come to realize, because I've suffered racial abuse, is that it doesn't matter how you act around white people will always be white people. When they're amongst themselves, they change. They are like chameleons. And even when I see white people that I can have a conversation with and converse well with, I thought, okay, they are understanding me as a black person. At the back of my mind, I'm thinking, are they really understanding me as a black person, or are they just listening to what I have to say, but behind my back, it's a different story? A lot of the time, that is how I feel. That is how I feel a lot of the time. And I just wish, as black people, we could be given more opportunities, especially for the black youth out there. That is who I'm feeling. I'm feeling it more for the next generation, because we are really, really, really killing ourselves so much. Every day when you open the newspaper, it's another black gang crime.
This is Guy just the 13 again. I'd just like to add on to what you just said about the situation with black youth over here in the UK. What you find is because a lot of their parents are white identified, right now at this particular moment in time, you're finding that you've got a lot of non-white youth who are engaging in tragic relations, simply because they see it as a fad, just like what Black Power mentioned earlier about the Midwest, or so I don't really like using this term, but mulatto groups. They're really pushing that agenda. They're really they're throwing that up at us as if that's what they expect of us, and we can't speak out about it, we can't, I mean, to the point where, when I'm with my lady, when I'm with my woman, and, we're walking down the road, the looks that we'll be receiving, as opposed to another white couple, like an Asian couple or, a Chinese couple, people are more likely to look at us more threatening, and again, in the area of London which we are at, we're classified as a minority, so, people, you're not going to walk down the road and people not notice you for who you are, to the point where now I think that a lot of a lot of people are afraid to show love and affection. Not afraid, but they're not as confident as they. Because I remember growing up, I remember seeing like more black couples and more black people holding hands and more black people showing affection to each other. Outside and on the street. That was the norm for what I used to see, or families. And I still see that now, but just not as much as I used to see it before. And you can obviously see the breakdown and the deterioration of the black male and female relation. It's very, very, very apparent over here in the UK. And if we don't act on it, very, very soon, then the question that Pam put forward in 20 years is it's not going to be that great, It's not going to be that great.
It's almost like we need permission now to like or love each other, and we know instinctively that they don't want us to be affectionate. They do it through they trained us through the movies and the media that they never show black men and women making love. They never show them solving problems together. They never show them raising their children together. But they show white people constantly being our closest allies and our closest friends. So we know instinctively that white people do not want to see us being affectionate. They used to actually have a Jim Crow law, I don't know what year, back in America, where it was against the law for black men and women to show affection in public. They could be arrested. So black people know instinctively what displeases white people, and you'll find us doing it over and over again, and they'll reinforce it with the media messages that we don't belong together, that we shouldn't be loving each other, that the only people who are capable of loving are white people. So if you want to be loved, you better get a white person. So this is almost like at an instinctive level.
Well, definitely. It's definitely the point where, it's second nature for us to, not do so, I mean, how deep the programming is now, and I guess, Pam, because, I'm you were from the era of, black, you used to see that, I'm sure, much more than you see it now. But that's how it is. That's how it is for me now. It's just like, where are all, it's just. I mean, if we don't do something soon, then I mean, I've done what I can. You've written, Death of a Dark Nation, Trojan Horse. I'm still yet to purchase your book, by the way.
Okay.
Gus,
you were coming out with a second one too, and it's about just what you're talking about. It's about black love and what happened to it. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what's needed right now. The whole thing that Ebony News Channel is doing with the black love. I mean, that's what we need. That's what we need, and we can't be afraid to show that to the world. That we love each other. We can't be afraid of that at all.
We better do it for our kids.
That's
I'm sorry. I just say we better do it for our kids. For our kids' sake, we better save our kids' lives, because if they don't see the black male and female showing any love toward one another, how in the world will the kids develop any love for themselves? Because they came from us and we don't like each other. What are we really telling them about themselves?
Agreed.
We have to stop being so selfish and fighting with each other. Because that's what it really is. It's confusion, but it's also extreme selfishness. Because we're basically saying we don't care what happens to our children, that we're too busy fighting each other.
I just want to mention something I witnessed about 2 months ago at work, where you had a very beautiful, very tall, beautiful non-white lady, black lady, walking, to my workplace. And, she was looking around and she was catching the attention, the attention of a lot of black males that were there at the time. And, about 10, 15 minutes into her being at the store and looking at what she was looking at, you had a white man, just come in, and first thing that he did, you'd expect any person to treat their partner with like respect in public, right? But this white man, what he did was he gave her like a smack to her behind.
What?
And then he gave us like a menacing. He gave like all like the black males was like a menacing look, like there's nothing like what you're gonna do, what you're gonna do about it,
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part about it is that the lady, you could tell she was quite identified by the way her mannerisms and her speech. We could all hear how she sounded. But for him to just walk in after her, smack her in the behind, look at all of us, in the face with like a menacing kind of, grisly kind of look on his face, like, what are you gonna do? Mm-hmm. That was a whole discussion, as my sister just said, which takes it back to slavery.
Mm-hmm.
In an instant like that, are there any black males on the phone or on the line at the moment? What would you do if you witnessed that? What can we? What do we take her? Do we pull her aside and allow her to know that she's in the system of white supremacy? Do we allow her to know that she's in a tragic relationship? Do we allow her to know that this man possibly might not marry her in future? And he's probably just with her for the sex, and it's things like that, that we're dealing with now, But I always put my hand up, because I know for one person that's in a tragic relationship like that, there's another black couple that have brought a life into the world, So I always try to as bad as things may seem, I always try to look for the balance,
Sounds like he slapped him. It was more for the black man seeing it than it was for any other reason. It's kind of like saying, you have no rights. Nothing that you have I can't take, and nothing you have that you can protect.
Because I know, if I was in a place, in London, North London, known as Tottenham, where, you've got relationships with Turkish men and black women, if I ever walked into a Turkish establishment with a Turkish woman on my arm or smacking her behind, I know that I'm going to get chased. I know that, I know something will happen, But, I guess even, I don't even say me, because at times I will stand up for what is right, I will stand up for what is just, but, yeah.
I just wanted to say real quick, we got about 90 seconds left. We'll be back tomorrow, part 2, Proud Gay Black Man, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We definitely will be doing this again. I want to thank everybody who tuned in from the UK, investors, Skydrifter, Mike, all the other folks, Black Power Stick, everybody. We'll do it again. Anything else you all want to share, feel free.
I'd just like to say that it was a pleasure speaking with everybody on the line, Justice, Gus, Pam, and all the other callers. Thank you for listening to our views. And thank you very much.
Yeah, we enjoyed it too.